Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of the Halas Hall Hangover. We are the 4-Star Chicago Sports Podcast. Unfortunately, Dustin got pulled into work today, so it's going to be a three-man show, but I got the twin powers with me. How we doing, Brando? How we doing, Kyle?
Doing good, man. How about you?
Well, living the dream. I'm sitting down for the first time in 2.5 weeks. It feels great.
How's back?
It's getting there. Stitches come out tomorrow. I'm pretty excited. It's feeling good. So I drove for the first time today. Like, woo!
What's going on, Bruce?
Small steps, Sean. Small steps.
Small steps. You got to be happy. So in the over the weekend, we had some breaking news. The Chicago Bears made some new additions to the coaching staff. Excuse me. And let's all start with our new defensive.
Sean, real quick, have you guys seen Ruiz 7 in here before?
Yeah, he comes Thursday nights.
What's up, Ruiz? How you doing, man? What's up, Mike?
What's up, Ruiz?
What's up, Ruiz? What's up, Mike?
Mike and Ruiz both bring the content, man. Mike's on it. Mike, keep that check going, man.
So we did end up getting Dennis Allen, and we got a new offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle. They have a couple of things in common. They both come from a Sean Payton coaching staff in the past. We have Dennis Allen comes to Chicago after 2 failed head coaching stints, which for me is okay because this man does run a typical 4-3 defense with elements of both zone and man coverage. He loves to play press man, likes to use a lot of Tampa 2. And the favorite thing that I think we're all going to love, he's a very aggressive blitzer. Deuce McAllister, wasn't that the guy on the Saints? He was on the score earlier today. He was professing a lot of love working with Dennis Allen. I think, in my opinion, and I'm going to turn it over to you guys, I think this is the top DC on the market. He was coveted by a few teams, and I think the Bears got another silver tuna. We'll get into the offensive coordinator in just a little bit. Who wants to take it away? Kyle, Brandon, run away with it. Thoughts, Dennis Allen?
Yeah, I like the hire of Dennis Allen. I think it's a good hire, and I think the Bears. I think Ben Johnson made it pretty clear he was going to try to get himself a few coaches that had some head coach experience. At least that's what I took from his presser. But you got the guy, man, who was either going to be, your options were very limited, and Flus was one of them. We know that wasn't happening, guys. But Dennis Allen runs a very similar defense, and he's a really good secondary coach, which excites me, man, because this team is loaded at secondary, and I know that he'll get the best out of those guys.
I mean,
guys, question? Does anybody know if Declan Doyle? I think this is the first hire they've made of a coach that did not play in the NFL formerly.
So far, I think so.
Dennis Allen played. Randall L. played.
Yep.
Their R.J. Barrett played.
Yep.
JT.
I think this is the first hire who's not a former player.
And we're going to get into a couple of those guys here in just a second. We've got some great nuggets on those gentlemen. But Kyle, what are your thoughts on Dennis Allen there, bud?
Well, when the Bears hired him, once they made the hire official, I guess I should say, I did a lot of research on Dennis Allen. And the thing that jumps out the page the most at me, man, is just how quickly he moves up the ranks, man. I mean, this guy literally spends 1 year at a position or with a team and then is promoted or hired by a new team to be promoted the next year. He was with Texas A&M for his first 3 years as grad assistant. So just kind of learning the ropes, getting his feet wet. Then he got hired by Tulsa as a secondary coach. He was hired the next year by the Falcons. He was promoted the next year by the Falcons. He was promoted again the next year by the Falcons. Then he was there at that position for 2 years. Then he was hired by the Saints. Then he was promoted by the Saints the next year. Then hired by the Broncos as the defensive coordinator. Then he was there for 1 year, hired as the Raiders head coach the very next year. I mean, and it just continues to go on and on and on. And once he gets defensive coordinator, then he was a little more stable. But I mean, every single year, this guy just gets promoted. So he's obviously a very impressive individual. And I like what this comment here says by Mike. It says failed head coach equals good coordinator. I mean, just because guys aren't good head coaches doesn't mean they're not good at what they do. For instance, I think the second best, and you guys tell me if you disagree with me, but I think the second best defensive coordinator candidate was Matt Eberflus. And I know that you look at Matt Eberflus's career as the head coach of the Chicago Bears and you're like, ooh, I don't know, man, he was pretty bad here. But the Bears were top 10 in every defensive statistical category until they lost Jaquan Brisker and Andrew Billings. Yeah, so I'd say that Matt Eberflus's number is 1B to Dennis Allen's 1A. Now, I do think that the Bears got the best available defensive coordinator in the offseason here. I think Dennis Allen brings a lot of experience to this coaching staff, which we all heard Ben Johnson say in his press conference.
You think so? Even over Robert Saleh?
Yes, I do. I think I like Dennis Allen more than Robert Saleh. I like Robert Saleh, but there's a lot of questions about Robert Saleh's character and how he deals with players. Dennis Allen, by all accounts, every single player that they've interviewed, I've watched a bunch of these interviews on Instagram, Facebook, every single player that's ever played for him absolutely loves him. And not to mention that you can see his impact as a coach in their statistics. I mean, when he got hired as the Saints defensive coordinator in 2016, they were 31st in passing yards allowed. By his last 2 years as defensive coordinator, 19 to 21, they were top 5 in passing yards allowed. And those two seasons as defensive coordinator, the last 2 he was defensive coordinator before he got promoted as interim head coach, they were top 5 in points allowed and yards. They were also top 10 in every statistical category from 2019 till 2024 when he just got fired. So, I mean, you can tell that you don't have to look hard to find that Dennis Allen obviously has these players motivated. And what's most impressive of all, guys, is he is great with adversity. In 2023, they lost their best corner for Marshawn Lattimore for 7 games. They did not skip a beat. They still finished top 10 in passing yards allowed at 207 yards per game. They also had never really signed a star pass rusher the entire time he was there. I mean, I guess you could consider Chase Young a star pass rusher, but before that, they never really signed
Cam Jordan.
Cam Jordan had already been there when he got there, but they were still one of the best defenses in the almost every statistical category with no pass rush. They were ranked 3rd of last in pass rush and 4th of last in sacks, and they still were top 10 defense in the NFL. So if the Bears can do him a favor and get him a couple good defensive ends or defensive tackles, somebody who can rush the quarterback here, this outside of Montez Sweat and Javon Dexter, I think sky's the limit for the Chicago Bears defense under Dennis Allen. I think that you could see a historically good defense if the Bears go into the draft and go get a defensive end or a 3 technique that can really make an impact.
Real quick, I've got a couple of chats. Broski Bear says, "Let's upgrade the trenches on both sides of the ball so Ben and Dennis can." Well, it's weird to say. Ben and Dennis can work on their potential. Yeah, Broski, I would imagine that is definitely Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson's first priority is to fix the trenches on both sides, hopefully of the football, because they could use about 7 out of 9 of their starters could be upgraded, I believe, personally. But
Yeah.
Mike Ross also says you got to be a good coordinator to get head coaching jobs. Some folks just don't have what it takes to be head coach. And then he follows that up with a good 3 technique like Jalen Carter.
Like Kyle said, there's a reason Dennis Allen was promoted to head coach of the the Oakland Raiders at the time, and there's a reason he's promoted head coach of the Saints. Mm-hmm. He was obviously running a really good defensive scheme. Like these coordinators, when the guys who are running, like Kyle said, top 10 units, those guys are always interviewed for head coaching jobs the following season. And like you said, Mike, they do fail. Some guys like Matt Eberflus can't be a leader of 53 men, but they can still call plays.
Yeah, and just to back up a couple of those points here, from 2019 to 2023, his defenses finished in top 10 in EPA, which is expected points allowed. In all 5 seasons, he finished 3rd in points allowed and 24th in 21. I mean, this is just, for me, as a Grand Slam hire, and I know there was a lot of rumors leading up to this hire. I was just praying that it did get done because this is the guy I wanted, and seems that I'm very happy that we've got a professional staff that's finally being brought to the Chicago Bears. It makes me feel very confident. And there's certain exuberance. I mean, even when you're listening right now to like The Score or ESPN 1000, as these coaches are getting hired, you hear this exuberance in their voice like you haven't heard in 15 years. Like they're excited about these additions to this staff. And I mean, for me, they're professionals. And I really, before we get into Declan, I'm going to let Brandon take this one over. And I want to let him explain why he's so excited, because the Bears brought home Antoine Randall. For those who don't know, he went to Township High School. He played hoops there. He beat Kevin Garnett in the Illinois State playoffs. And Kevin Garnett, for those who don't know, was one of the biggest names ever.
Jason.
And
then on top of that, He was also drafted by the Chicago Cubs and born right here in Riverdale, Illinois. But Brandon, please, because I know you and Dustin were doing backflips when you heard this. So please tell everyone about your excitement, why you're so excited that Antoine Randall is here for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, it's strange, man. Like the Bears are doing things that I hope they do prior to them doing them. It's weird. When Ben Johnson was when Ben Johnson was added to the list of potential candidates the Bears might interview, we all knew he was going to bring some coaches from Detroit. That was the guy I wanted, Sean. And I've seen numerous clips of him on the sideline addressing players in a very stern manner. Guys, I don't think it's going to affect Ben Johnson's ability to be a head coach, but I don't think he is or wants to be the guy that gets in somebody's face when there's a problem. And you guys we saw this yesterday. Who was it yesterday? Was it Vic Fangio? Somebody was getting over on a player yesterday after a penalty. I don't remember which game it was, which team it was, which player it was, but you gotta have this person, man. And Randall treats like he's like their father. And I don't mean that he treats them like children, but he's very, if it doesn't go the way if the standard's not met that I expect, get on the fucking bench. I don't care. I don't know if you guys saw the clip where he's putting his finger in Jameson Williams' face, and Jameson Williams starts to talk back, and he turns back towards him and gets more in his face and more aggressive, and Jameson just walks towards the bench. I want that guy on my staff for sure. And I also believe, guys, I'm not just going to talk about his character and the fact that I think he's a disciplinarian this team absolutely needs, but his wide receiving core is, I mean, as far as results would say, he's done a really good job with the wide receiver core in Detroit, and especially, guys, a guy who's been now suspended for drugs, for gambling, has an issue on the field. Him and Tyreek Stevenson have had two kind of like after the call or after the whistle spats, but he's a guy. Jameson Williams has been a problem, honestly, since he was in Alabama. It's a guy that you need somebody to handle, and I feel like Randall was definitely that role for Detroit.
Real quick, let's get to some of these comments, guys. PT57 says all these coaches are hires that emphasize character, the ability to communicate to players, and high football IQ. I like them all. And then Crooked Commish just joined the chat.
What's
here.
up, Jay?
What's good, y'all? What's going on, Crooked? How you doing, man?
Crooked. Jay, what's up, Crooked?
Real quick, I just want to comment on one of these, or to Broski's comment, respond to Broski's comment here. He says, I agree, keep Darnell right, Montez starters. The rest of the spots are for grabs. Guys, I think we set expectations so high, sometimes we don't notice the good play of some of the players on the field. Javon Dexter, is he Jalen Carter? No, and he's probably always going to be compared to Jalen Carter because the Bears passed on Jalen Carter to then address the 3-technique spot, drafting Javon Dexter in the second round. Javon Dexter is a very good football player, guys, and I still don't believe that he's met his potential. I think that ultimately Javon Dexter is going to have some seasons with 10 or 12 sacks. For a defensive tackle, that's a really, really good season, guys. And he was making impact plays in almost every single game this season until, unfortunately, he got hurt. But I'm pretty sure if Javon Dexter had played.
The question is, Kyle, in regards to what Broski's saying here, like I said, 7 of the 9 guys, I didn't say were bad. I said could absolutely be upgraded, and you can get a better 3-technique than Javon Dexter.
Well, he doesn't.
It's been 2 years.
He doesn't necessarily be a 3-technique.
Get a better guy.
You can still keep him in the lineup as a starter. He could.
He's a rotational.
He could play defensive end.
I believe he's a phenomenal rotational piece, guys. Good football teams have Javon Dexter's as their second string. That's the guy who comes in when the guy you pay $100 million to needs a break. Javon Dexter, when his rookie deal is up, guys, he will not make
more than who's the Eagles?
Probably $30 million. I mean, what can this guy ask for?
Okay, Brandon, that's
7 sacks in his career.
Okay, Brandon. Well, then outside of Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, who is the Eagles' second string?
What?
Who is the Eagles' second string outside of Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter? Who's their backup? I don't watch
the Eagles that religiously, man. I don't know most rosters' backup players. I do know this. They have the ability to give their players a break and still maintain dominance, which the Bears don't do, guys. As soon as players started dropping injured,
they don't have the depth.
Sean, you've said this more than anyone. The depth on this team. Ryan Poles is most accountable and has failed most at this position. Depth.
Yes.
They suck.
100%.
This conversation could go a million different ways, and this is not how I wanted to go. First of all, Ryan Poles' first year here, he didn't didn't do anything. He didn't sign anybody for you. He didn't do anything. His goal was to get rid of as much dead cap as he possibly could. So in reality, Ryan Poles has only been adding players to this roster for 2 years. You just said this roster needs to have full of starters and depth. You can't add 53 men in 2 years.
No,
Brandon.
that's the
Impossible.
problem,
You
Kyle.
don't
That's the
It's
problem, Kyle.
impossible.
That's the
You
problem.
don't
That's the
that-
problem. That's what I
not-
mean.
The
You've
NFL has
already
got to rebuild it in
drafted
1
your
year kind of
depth.
league. That's
You've
not
already
this league.
drafted
That's not
depth.
how it works.
Javon Dexter is depth.
Javon Dexter is a starter in the NFL, Brandon. He could, if he played all 17 games last season, he would have had up close to 10 sacks as a defensive
You
tackle.
just have to ask
That's a
yourself,
starter in the
can
NFL.
you be better? Can you be
Sean,
better? Is Jalen
would you
Carter
agree with
better
that?
than Javon Dexter?
Is
Say that again?
10 sacks as defensive tackle? Is that a
better
starter in the
tackles
NFL?
than Javon Dexter?
Here's a good question. Here's a really good question, because everyone keeps saying, yeah, Jalen Carter's a monster. Jalen Carter's a monster. Blah 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 blah. He plays really well. He blows up games.
Yep.
Does everyone forget that Jordan Mason, or what's his name? Not Mason. What's the big guy they drafted from Georgia? Jordan Davis. Thank you. That 350-pound absolute beast is next to him, and that really helps out Jalen Carter a lot.
Yes.
I mean, Javon Dexter played most. Javon Dexter's played most of his career between Andrew Billings and Montez Sweat. I don't want to hear
Andrew
that.
Billings is not Jordan
Javon Dexter,
Davis.
guys.
Brandon.
The three
Andrew
technique
Billings
is a
is not
position that
Jordan
must be blue
Davis.
chip. Do you guys understand? This 4-3 defense runs around this position. This guy must be a blue chip. He must be a game wrecker. He must wreak havoc in the backfield. I'm not talking about stuffing run. This guy must get after the quarterback consistently. Javon Dexter does not even pressure the quarterback consistently, much less sack him.
Brandon, this would be a fair question, and I would like to know, on this defensive line that the Chicago Bears had. No, there's no Dexter. You have Carter in there. You have Carter. You have Sweat. You still don't have anything else. Is Carter as effective on Philadelphia as it would be in Chicago with this defensive line?
Yes, Carter's required to beat the guy across from him, not do other people's jobs.
Well, I can be fair and say Sam Cosmi was out yesterday, and in 4 quarters, Jalen Carter had 2 pressures. He wasn't a game wrecker. He was playing against a reserve.
I mean,
Sam Cosmi was their best lineman.
You guys are
Jordan
big PFF
Mason
guys.
got to the quarterback.
I would love to know the PFF grade comparison between Jalen Carter and Javon Dexter. I'd love to see the
well, there's
comparison.
obviously going to be a huge difference because you have Josh Sweat. You have all pro. You don't have that on the Bears.
Okay, but you guys confuse me. This take is so strange to me because you guys love Montez Sweat. You like Andrew Billings. You love Javon Dexter, but you're saying they need to get better guys to make these guys better. Who the hell are they going to replace to make these guys better if you like everybody who's on the line? Walker?
Well, Brandon.
So they're going to replace Walker, and all these guys are just going to be Hall of
Brandon, you
Famers?
just touched on it. These are depth pieces. I don't believe
they are.
I do like Javon Dexter. I do think Javon Dexter. I agree with Kyle. I do believe Javon Dexter is capable of 10 sacks a year. Do I believe
Why do you believe that? Why do you believe
because
that?
I watched him.
Because he had 5 sacks in 9 games, Brandon. That's why. He had more sacks than Jalen Carter.
What do you mean?
He had more sacks this season than Jalen Carter had. Jalen Carter had 4.5. Javon Dexter had 5 in 5 less games.
What do you mean in 9 games?
Javon Dexter missed what? 5 games? 4 games? He came back for the Green Bay game. Before that, he missed what? 4 games?
I thought he missed 2.
No, he missed. Sean, you go look at it, Sean.
I'm gonna look it up.
But I mean, he had 5 sacks.
The trenches obviously
more
can
sacks
get
than
better.
Jalen Carter.
And I believe that there are positions. Guys, I don't even think Montez Sweat is the player that you think he is, to be honest with you. But I think they can get better at most positions in the trenches. I think, guys, do you want Ryan Poles to settle? Like, if Ryan Poles, if the best tackle in the draft is what
So he
falls
missed
to you
3.
at 10,
He missed 3 games.
do you not take him
missed 3
because
games.
Javon Dexter is a stud? I don't understand.
No, I think you beef up your line because you have a blueprint when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles and say, I mean, honestly, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are the best defense in the league. I think they proved it again. They shut down the Washington Redskins yet again, who nobody could stop. They allowed 170 passing yards per game. And I hate to say that has to do with a lot of pressure probably generated up the middle from 2 all-pro tackles. They have 2 all-pro tackles. No other team in the NFL has what they have sitting in the middle of their defensive line. If you could think of one, please tell me. 2 people better sitting on a defensive line than Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter right now.
I can tell you that I watched the rookie on the Los Angeles. I can tell you I watched the rookie on the Los Angeles Rams, who I believe was drafted after Javon Dexter, and he's already better.
Who,
he
Fisk?
was drafted before Gervon Dexter. But here's the problem with Bears fans. Bears fans, what they do when Bears fans compare every position on the Chicago Bears, they compare them to the best guy at the position in the NFL. You guys,
absolutely.
You guys know what a salary cap is? The salary cap is something that prevents you from paying every single position on the field top dollar.
Yeah.
You cannot pay
So
defensive tackle, defensive end, linebacker, safety, corner, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, running back, and quarterback, all top dollar.
The right
so you have
guys.
to make sacrifices.
Correct.
So
you pay
not every
$100 million
position on the
edge
field.
rushers.
You can have Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley, Patrick Mahomes. You cannot build a team like that. It's impossible. That's why the salary cap is in place, so that there's parity in the league. So all these people think that the Bears can just go into 1-2 off seasons and go get a Jalen Carter at every single position across the field. It's not realistic.
They could have
you
gotten
just
Jalen
don't know
Carter.
the game of football. You don't know the sport. You guys, this is why people complain about teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees, because they're able to go get the best guy at every position every offseason, and it's not fun to watch. This is why the NFL is awesome. You cannot get a top tier player.
The Eagles are going to be broke. The Eagles are going to be broken up when these rookie deals are up. They can't pay.
The Eagles cannot pay everybody.
Yes,
Some of these guys are going to leave.
They better win the Super Bowl.
The Eagles are just better at drafting.
But they got to a Super Bowl before they had to pay these guys.
Sure.
Yeah,
100%.
Broski says here that it's also called the draft. The draft is elite. Hey, Broski, they have 8 draft picks. There's 53 men on the field, and that's not including
free agency too.
That's not including all the special teamers. There's your practice squad and a backup quarterback. There's 53 men on the field. There's 8 draft picks. You can't address every single position in the draft. All you can do is spend money, the money you have in free agency. That's it.
Brusky Bear does agree with Brandon, says we need better than Billings and Dexter at D tackle. I think that you can add someone better than Billings, put him next to Dexter, and I think you'd be surprised at how good Dexter.
I agree with you 100%. Sean. I think if the Bears traded for Jordan Davis and put him next to Gervon Dexter, Gervon Dexter would look a lot better. Sean, I agree with you 100%.
I think Billings 100%. Is better than Dexter at his job, respectively. I think Billings is a better player.
One's a 3T, one's a 1T. So I mean, they're playing different. They have different responsibilities.
The contract that you gave Billings, he has far exceeded the draft pick that you used on Dexter. He has plummeted underneath. That's what I think.
He's a late second round pick, Bernard. How many sacks do you expect from a late second round pick defensive tackle in his second year, missing 2 games? How many sacks did you expect?
I don't have my expectations that players get better.
Well, you just said the signing Brandon, or the draft position, the expectations he fell short. So you had to have some expectations.
Well, Brandon, you just said you expect the player to get better from one year to another. His rookie year, he had 2.5 sacks. This year, he had 5. So next year, you could go in and expecting
he should have 7.5. Yeah, I agree.
Is that how we dictate like a player is better? Like Mark Anderson, his rookie year had 12 sacks. He never hit it again because he's not that guy. Because Gervon Dexter can fall into a sack.
It's called an anomaly, Bernie.
He can fall into a sack. And guys, some of Gervon Dexter's sacks were quarterbacks holding the ball. I'm going to say that. I don't think he
some of Jalen Carter's sacks are the quarterback holding the ball. What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything.
Hey, Brandon, Jordan Davis's sack yesterday, and that big sack when he destroyed Jalen Daniels.
His lap.
He was holding the ball too long.
Fell into his lap. I agree.
Yeah. And
Jordan Davis has 1 sack this year, guys.
The same thing I've been talking about since day one, Sean. You know for a fact I've been saying this for the last 2 years, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. How does a guy like Tremaine Edmonds go from being a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker and then come to the Chicago Bears and not look good at all? Why does that happen? Why would that happen? Coaching. So if you're saying that the Bears coaches are not getting the most out of their players, why would you automatically write Gervon Dexter off as a starter when you just admitted that the Bears coaches are not getting the most out of these players that they possibly can?
But
why would you just admit that?
I do also agree with Broski Bear. You need monsters in the trenches to become an elite team. I don't think the Bears have enough in the trenches. I agree with that. I think they need more.
I agree as well. I'm not saying the Bears should go into the next season with the same team that they have right now. What I'm saying is, of all the holes in the roster, Gervon Dexter is not an immediate need to be replaced this offseason, need to upgrade. That is not even in the forefront of their minds.
Are you taking the best player available at 10? Are you taking the best player available?
I'm taking an offensive tackle at 10.
So you're taking a need. Sean, what are you taking with your top 10 pick? A need or a talent?
Oh man. I would. Oof. I mean,
So
I would
let's say
like.
this.
I would here.
Let's say
I would
this.
like
The
here.
two
I would
best
like left
offensive
tackle.
linemen.
I would say left tackle and agree with Kyle. But if there's a generational talent sitting there at 10, like we were just talking about, if Carter were to fall at 10,
Kicker.
my board switches to
Mike
Carter
Ross.
immediately.
Sean, what is the?
I guess my
what is-
question is, if the offensive lineman that you consider blue chip talent, top 10 picks, right? A guy like
Sure.
Campbell, a guy like Banks, if those two guys are gone, and at 10 now, you still have a monster defensive, a 3 technique tackle. You don't think that's a position you should upgrade?
I think you trade down. It depends on the grade of that player that's there. I think you trade out of that position if the
think you
players that
trade
you
Dexter.
focused on are not going to be there
What is the Sean? What's the most important thing on the Chicago Bears
right now.
right now?
There's a couple.
What is the most important thing on the Chicago Bears?
Well, the protection and growth of Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams is the most
Yeah.
important thing on the Chicago Bears roster right now, guys. Caleb Williams determines the success for this franchise for the next 10 years. What happens if Caleb Williams gets sacked 68 times?
Okay, but
The Bears aren't very good.
I guess
Not a very good
this-
football team.
Guys, we're not going
You
to
need a
resolve
left
this.
tackle.
We're going to disagree
No,
because
but I
still
do
firmly believe
agree.
Jalen Carter should have been the pick. You guys love Darnell Wright. We're not going to agree. I think Jalen Carter is a better player than Darnell Wright, and I think the Bears took what they thought was a bigger need than a better
No,
Brandon,
talent. And I
no,
think it's
we're gonna-
biting
we-
them in the ass.
You know
I
what?
think
We
you're
can get
paraphrasing.
into
think
that
you're
really quick
paraphrasing.
on the whole Darnell Wright thing if we really want. I was
No,
gonna
real
save
quick,
that
Sean.
for a
Let's
little
talk about Jalen Carter. So the Bears came out afterwards, and Ryan Poles said it out of his own mouth. He went down to Georgia. He interviewed the prosecutor from the case that the criminal case that Jalen Carter was involved in. He interviewed the lawyers. He interviewed Jalen Carter's coaches. He said he was being lied to by Jalen Carter in their interviews, in the pro days, at the combine. He was being lied to by him. Jalen Carter was involved in an accident in which somebody died. Jalen Carter did not get out of the car and go help the man. He left the scene, which happened to be his best friend dying in the car, by the way.
Okay, then.
And Ryan Poles didn't like his character and didn't want him on this team. If that's the decision that Ryan Poles made, I don't want somebody who's involved in a death on my football team. I don't want to work next to this guy in the office. I don't want to work next to this guy.
Do you think the
Then
Eagles
that's the
regret
decision you
drafting?
made, and it's time for Bears fans to get
Do you
over
think the
it.
Super Bowl Eagles regret drafting Jalen Carter because of his
I-
lies? Because he lied in his
Maybe there will be a
interviews?
day where they do. I don't know.
And
A
thank you,
long career to
Broski Bear, because if we get the Broski Bear, really, this is exactly what I'm saying. Jalen Carter wouldn't have succeeded on the Bears, though. He needed to be on a team with a strong locker room culture and coaching staff.
I
This
disagree.
guy would have been chased out of the
Blue chip
league.
talents don't rely on coaches. They are who they are.
And to Jason's point, we need Cunningham to get a job elsewhere. I think getting that third-round compensatory pick, if we do, that happens. I think that's next year, though, or is it this year?
Next
It's 2 years, but is it next year and the following
next year, 26 and 27.
year? Okay.
And then Broski Bear says, by the way, a woman was in the car and she also died as well. Yeah,
So that's
travesty, just an absolute travesty that
Wait,
ever
what?
happened.
I
Two
thought,
very
the,
young
I thought the
people.
woman got fired and sued Georgia.
There's 4 people in the car.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, let's move on from the trenches, guys.
Rui 7 says, good to see other people are as passionate as myself about the Bears. Remember, fellas, the only way up from here. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the Bears, it doesn't matter. Javon Dexter is going to be the starting defensive tackle for this team next year. No doubt about it. The Bears have bigger holes to fill. They're going to address the offensive line first and foremost. They're going to address the other defensive end position because there's not upgrading at the other defensive end position. They don't have one, and they need to add one. There is no other defensive end for the Chicago Bears as it stands right now. They also need to upgrade at the running back position, and they also need another safety in case Quan Brisker is incapable of playing next year. Javon Dexter may not be the best tackle in the league, but he's a tackle who's serviceable and can play the position and can be a starter in the NFL. So we need to address the 2 guard positions that you don't have, the center position you don't have, the left tackle position that should be upgraded, no doubt about it, because as much as I like Braxton Jones, the weak side of your quarterbacks, the weak side of the quarterback line, that's the position that's the most important to Caleb Williams in his career right now.
I'll be perfectly honest.
His weak side. Braxton Jones is the first position the Bears need to upgrade at. No question about it.
Hey, Kyle,
no doubt about
I'll be perfectly honest with you. You can keep Braxton Jones. I think he will be a really good guard in this league.
Well, yeah,
Based on his
left tackle either
skill
way. The Bears
set.
need a left
I
tackle.
think you need a left tackle. But
Yeah, dude, I think Jackson Jones is going to be on the team. I don't know that they're going to use him at guard or any other position. I think he'll probably be just your backup left
swing?
tackle if you draft a
He's a swing
left
tackle.
tackle.
He's a tackle that comes in when they run I formation. Yeah, he's a swing tackle. That's exactly what he would become immediately. But we've been talking, how long have we been talking as Bears fans about the need to address the left tackle? This has been since 2007, guys.
Yeah.
You need to draft a left tackle. Go get a left tackle so we can stop having this conversation every single year. Go get a left tackle. The Bears make this mistake where they keep bringing these young quarterbacks in here, get them sacked over 50 times. 4 seasons in a row now, guys. 4 seasons in a row now, the Bears have had at least 50 sacks. Their quarterback's been sacked at least 50 times, 4 seasons in a row.
Appreciate it.
Stop bringing young quarterbacks in here, getting their heads knocked off, and expecting them to be Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. If you want Caleb Williams to succeed, go get somebody to protect his blind side. It's not even a conversation anymore. Left tackle is the most important position for the Chicago Bears going into this offseason, and I guarantee you Ben Johnson agrees with me. I can guarantee it.
Well, if you listen to Ben Johnson, the first thing he said was, we talked about the offensive line. That was the first thing they addressed.
He actually said, I'm excited to get an offensive line coach in the building. Yep. So he was telling, what Chris Morgan, you're out.
You're out.
He sent that message in his presser.
Here, and Brandon, as we talk about this whole Jalen Carter thing, and Darnell Wright, and Darnell Wright's not elite. I'm just going to throw this flow chart up here because if you see Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, and Tristan Wirfs, those are 3 of the best tackles in football. Just go down just a little bit about right there, and you see Darnell Wright. And we're gonna give you some stats behind that. Darnell Wright was left on an island with no guard, no tight end, or running back on 71% of his snaps in 2024. That was the 5th highest rate in the NFL. When left on an island, his grade was exceptional, 0.018. which puts him in the top quadrant on this chart. And you saw him all the way up to the right. He comes down to number 5 behind who? 4 top elite guards that we would check, or tackles we would take in a heartbeat. For comparison, that's slightly better quality rating than Penei Sewell, who was left on an island only 57% of the time. Darnell Wright, at 21 years old, made nice progress. He as an interior lineman with Ben's designs and his offense, I think he's going to be very, very good and not much, much better than he already has been, being the 5th best at his position. He's going to get some chip help, some design help. I think you're looking at a guy who's going to be a many-time Pro Bowler for the Chicago Bears.
As soon as the Bears win games, Darnell Wright makes the Pro Bowl.
Absolutely.
No, the second the Bears start winning football games, Darnell Wright's in a Pro Bowl.
He's elite.
Not even a question. It's not even a question. He was ranked as the 3rd right guard in all of the NFL this year. And I know that Sewell will always be the starter in the NFC at the Pro Bowl, but Darnell Wright will always be the backup as soon as the Bears start winning games, because he, by all accounts, in the NFC alone, he is the most dominant right tackle in the NFC, excluding Penei Sewell, who's probably going to go down as one of the best right tackles in the history of football, in the history of the NFL.
And we went over those numbers of how close they were at the end of this season. And Penei Sewell's in his 5th year, and he's in his 2nd year. He's also 4 years younger, Wright's 4 years younger than Sewell, and their numbers are very comparable. Can you imagine this past year with our Darnell Wright on this offensive line, as bad as it already was? I mean, come on. You have to fix the trenches, and you can't get rid of a guy who, and you know what? We'll be around for a while. We'll see. I'm saying a multi-time Pro Bowler for the Chicago Bears at the right tackle position. That's just my thoughts on that.
Real quick, guys. Ruiz7 says, can we dive into this left tackle debate and rank the top 3 options in the draft/free agency?
Absolutely.
I can give them to you right now.
Yeah,
Vernon, Banks, Campbell, and Trey Smith. Or is he a guard?
He's a guard.
Well, he said left tackle, didn't he?
Yeah, left tackle. So
those between free agency and the draft, those are your 3 names you're going to want to keep.
So there's another guy that our boy Dustin brought up that I did some research on, and that was that Corley Jr. Josh Corley Jr. 6'4", 315, out of Oregon. And what's his name? Todd McShay said he's actually the best prospect at the left tackle position in this draft. McShay said he had incredible year at this point. He went up against three of the best defensive lines in Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, and he held his own. He has I actually, because we all love Abdul Carter. I want to show you this really, really quick. Here is Cornley. He's actually dominating in the Big Ten championship. He's putting Abdul Carter, who many say is a top 3 pick in this draft. He's putting him on his butt consistently, keeping him away from his quarterback. I mean, he did this against Ohio State. He did this against Michigan. I mean, this guy is an absolute beast. It may be a guy that the Bears are looking at a little bit later in this draft, unless he rises up draft boards. But I mean, this guy was an absolute stud against Penn State. We all know how good Penn State was. We all know how good Abdul Carter was. So this is a guy you might want to put on your draft board as a guy to keep an eye on in the future.
Mike Ross says, what do you guys think about Amagaji? Does he get better with the new coaching staff? That's what he said.
I guess maybe.
If you go look around the NFL, the position that most commonly has, I mean, besides skill positions, if you look at the defensive line, offensive line, fullbacks, those positions where you don't really notice them as much, that most commonly has first round picks or high picks, at least top 2 round picks, is left tackle, or at least the quarterback's weak side. So obviously if Kibble's left-handed, they would worry about the right tackle more than they would the left tackle. But I mean, the Bears have to address the left tackle, and they have to do it early in the draft. So it's a can't miss player. It's a guy who you're not going to get him on the team, get him starting at the left side of the line, and all of a sudden you start to notice all these deficiencies he has, and Caleb Williams is getting hit time and time again. You cannot deal with that this year. You need a guy you can bring in here and be confident that he can keep Caleb Williams upright and keep him on his feet. The 2 top free agent tackles this offseason are going to be Ronnie Staley from the Baltimore Ravens and Cam Robinson, who we all know that the Vikings traded for halfway through the season. I don't want either of those guys. I want the Bears at number 10 to go, even if they feel like, oh, well, there's not a tackle who's worth taking at number 10, then trade back to 15, get more picks, and then go get your tackle at 15. But do not take a tackle out of the first round. Do not go out of the first round and take a left tackle. If you're talking about the guy who's going to grow with your quarterback and protect your quarterback's blind side for the next 5 years of his career, go get a left tackle in the first round. Stop messing around. We've been talking about this for 16 years. Go get a left tackle in the first round.
Really quick too, in that second round, and just in case the Bears have to burn one, to Broski Bear saying that it's pretty deep. Left tackle I like in that second round is Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. 175 sacks in this 3-game playoff. 1 pressure, 0 sacks, 0 penalties. Right now he's ranked 15th. As of 1/11/25, when I did my research, he's ranked 15th overall. So, or 15th O lineman in the draft. Excuse me, sorry. So maybe this is another guy. I do think there's a couple of guys that are sprinkled in this draft that the Bears might be able to take that might, with good coaches, be able to come into good players. But you got to find the good technique, the hands, the feet, the good motion, the long arms. There's a lot of things that go into the left tackle position.
Yeah, which is I don't like Will Campbell. By all accounts, Will Campbell's arms are so short that he's eventually going to move to guard. So don't even mess with it. I mean, unless you're willing to take a guard in the first round, then go get Will Campbell. But if you're talking about drafting a left tackle to play the left tackle position, Will Campbell is not the guy. That is not the guy. And look at how many people were talking about Peter Skoronski and how he was the best tackle in the draft. What happened the second he got drafted? He got moved to guard. He does not play tackle in the NFL. He plays guard. So if you want to go get a left tackle, go get a guy who you think can actually be a left tackle. Broski says, can a left tackle from Southern Utah or Yale ever get better? He's talking about Karan Amagaji. Karan Amagaji is a conundrum. I don't like to say that. I don't think it's fair to judge Karan Amagaji because he was on a team where the head coach was Matt Eberflus and he had 3 different offensive coordinators. But I wouldn't go into the next season planning on that guy being your starting.
That's what you hold against him. That's one of the worst offensive line coach in the NFL.
The Bears.
We're talking about a young player's
hired by the head coach.
I believe this, Ruiz, or whoever asked that. Sorry, I believe this. You can develop any player into a better player than they are. Maybe not going to be a star, a blue chip $100 million player, but you can certainly from what I saw on that, like I watched a lot of tape, Crown Amagaji in college at Yale. That's not the guy that I watched.
Yeah, Dustin, we just said that. Like, if you're
So
going
I
to get Will
think,
Campbell, you're drafting him as a guard. Yeah.
I think, I think, I think this, I think Crown Amagaji, it was kind of at the hands of really poor development on the offensive line in general. The Bears did not develop any offensive linemen well, not Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones is probably a guy that could have made a leap. He didn't do it here. None of these guys. I mean, everybody was so excited about Nate Davis's progression coming into this season. Like, it's just nobody got better. I said this on the bare minimum. The players that did come here got worse. The players that left here, like Lucas Patrick, got better wherever the hell they went. This coaching staff destroyed the potential of offensive linemen's development. That's
I agree.
Okay, so if that's the case, if you honestly truly believe that, Brandon, that this coaching staff infringed on these players' development, or these players got worse because of this coaching staff, how many of these Brian Poles picks are not good picks, or were just not developed correctly?
Well, I mean, you guys got pretty hot on Karan. So do you think that it's a development problem, or do you think the guy sucks?
I mean, you just said Braxton Jones may have been elite if not brought to the Chicago Bears. So how many of these picks are on Ryan Poles' shoulders or on Matt Eberflus's shoulders?
Brandon, I'm going to say something that's probably not going to go over very well, be very popular. I don't like drafting players from Yale, from the Ivy League, or the Mountain West, i.e. Aston Genty. I don't like it. They don't face real competition through the season. They just don't. And when they do, they don't do what they do against weaker competition. Kram Amadaji has never faced top competition in college. He went to Yale. He's playing Harvard and Brown and Cornell. How many NFL players are coming and starting in the NFL on those teams? Maybe a development player. He's definitely not a player that should have been drafted where he was based on potential. The Bears don't have that luxury. There was a huge miss, in my opinion, at that position for Ryan Poles. And maybe he can get better under coaching staff. Time will tell. Maybe I'll be wrong. He definitely has the size. We'll see if he has the ability.
Yeah,
I'm an SEC Big Ten guy myself.
I'm going to be honest, guys. Torrey Taylor finished 12th in punter rankings. Austin Booker should probably not be in the NFL. And Karan Abgaji is a train wreck when he did play. This draft, outside of, I want to scream this home, guys, outside of Ryan Poles taking blue chip talent instead of drafting needs, because when he drafted needs, when he got in the second, third round, when he's getting late in rounds, he's drafting needs. It's trash, is what it is. So, and I've heard so much about like Torrey Taylor, blue chip. Torrey Taylor's ranked 12th, guys. He's the 12th ranked punter in the NFL.
Brandon, the punter statistics are skewed, and you know that. I mean, if you're punting in short fields, then yeah, he's not going to be the top 10. The Bears don't kick long field goals, and they don't go for it on fourth down. So of course, Torrey Taylor's not going to finish as the most net yards in punting because they're punting from the opponent's 45-yard line. Every other team is kicking a field goal there or going for it on fourth down.
Yeah, but
the Bears don't do
Torrey
that.
Taylor
They're
also
not
punted from within his own 5-yard line about 100 times this year.
No, actually, Caleb Williams was pretty good at not getting 3 and out, not going 3 and out. Besides the first drive of the game.
First drive of the game, I was just going to say.
Actually, one of the least amount of 3 and outs the Bears have had in the last 8 years. I mean, at least
really quick, Dano. I had back surgery 13 days ago. Today was the first day I actually sat down, so I don't have to poop. I just ran out of my being able to sit down time, brother.
Sean, I was giving you time there. I thought you were. I was hoping you would address that. I was going to.
He takes Imodium before the show.
Yeah, Sean's in pain, man. That's why you see him keep moving the way he's moving. Although he might have to poop, I have no idea.
You draft Braxton Jones out of Southern Utah, an already injured guy from Yale. Draft your lineman from the Big. I'm guessing he means Big Ten or the SEC.
Yeah, so he agrees with Sean.
Yeah, so he agrees with Sean that the level of competition when it comes to the offensive line is very important in the transition to the NFL.
They just prepare you better in those leagues. I'm not terribly down on the Big 12 either, but if I'm looking at those positions, it's SEC and Big 10 all day long. And if there's someone in the top of the draft there and they're highly rated and you feel good about it, I would pull that trigger, man. I like that.
Like Ross says, it would be nice to have a kicker that can kick a 55-yard field.
Yes, I agree, Mike. I agree 100%.
I actually texted Sean and Kyle and Dustin at the day after the last Bears game. I said, I have the new Bears' newest or new greatest position of need is kicker. Because if you're guys like the second, what was the Seahawks game
Not if you're
where they
Ben
wouldn't
Johnson.
even let him
He doesn't care
attempt
about
like
the
a
kick.
56-yarder? Was it the Seahawks game where they lost going for it because they wouldn't go
Oh,
for the tie because he had to kick
yeah.
a 4-yard field goal? What the hell is? And then people were like, we were talking about it on the show, and some of the guys in the chat were like, you weren't looking at him in practice, man. He might have been missing, might have been some wind. Like, dude, NFL kickers 55. It's a different day. It's a
Well, I
different
mean,
day.
is that another bad signing by
No,
Bulls
there's a
extending this guy?
chance that Ben Johnson's going to walk in the special teams room and go, "Hey guys, you're not going to be doing much punting and kicking this season, so don't worry about it. Just sit down and relax." Well, you guys, real quick, you want to get back into this coaching hires before we?
Yeah, you know what? We got a little off track. Let's get back on because I do want to talk about one gentleman who has a relation to the Chicago Bears just a little bit. And I will tell you, I did go into this, and I think we all talked about this at one point, and I think we all agreed we didn't expect like a big hire at the OC position. So I wouldn't say it was puzzling or surprising, but Declan Doyle, I do believe, is the youngest coordinator in the entire NFL. We obviously know he will not be calling plays. He is expected to manage some pivotal roles on this team, from what I understand, around the offense with Caleb. Just to give a little background, the Bears believe Doyle is a bright young mind, an ascending coach. They put stock in the development that he had under Sean Payton. He was a tight ends coach for the Broncos the past 2 seasons, obviously. Before that, he worked 4 seasons as the offensive assistant for the New Orleans Saints. He also worked for the Detroit Lions coach Dan Campbell, a major influence probably for Mr. Ben Johnson. Who knows? But Doyle was an offensive student assistant at Iowa and played baseball at Western Iowa Community College. He's also the nephew of one Iron Mike Ditka. So let's what do you guys think of this Declan Doyle? I don't know if you guys had a chance. I sent you that little YouTube when he was on the Saints from the Senior Bowl. I think it was Darnell Wright's rookie year. What do you guys think of What do you guys think of Declan Doyle?
Mike Ross is killing it. He said, "Yeah, I heard that from Caleb in regards to Ben Johnson telling Torrey Taylor he ain't gonna punt." Then he says, "Someone has to get the coffee." Yeah, so I don't know. This is the one. I've liked all the Bears hires so far. Really, I have. Like you said, it's been exciting. Every time you hear a new name, it's not like the last time around where you're like, "What?" But this guy, man, I got to be honest. Hiring a 28-year-old to me is questionable at best. I think he's probably going to be just a guy they're going to run to the ground. Maybe that's why you get a young guy. He's going to be working. He's going to be watching film till midnight every day. But I also have an issue with the fact that he came. Sean Payton is a really good coach. I agree with what you just read, that he's spent 2 years as a tutor, right? He's learning from. But his tight ends were probably the worst thing on Sean Payton's offense. I imagine at some point Sean Payton said to Declan Doyle, like, "What the hell, man?" And he probably just said, like, "Well, Doyle rules," or something like that. But like, I don't. It's just strange to me that there's so much clout around this guy. Like they say, like he's an innovative mind that's on the way up. I never heard the name before I read he was our OC.
Me either.
Not once.
Me
I
either.
mean, we heard Ben Johnson's name for 5 years. You know what I mean? Like Ben Johnson was a long way coming, and then you heard about Liam. You heard about these guys. These guys who get promotions. You're aware before the season even ends who's going to be on those lists, right? We knew who the potential head coaches were. We knew who the defensive coordinators were. Did anybody hear Declan Doyle?
No.
Yes, broski. Declan Doyle is Mike Ditka's actual nephew.
Yeah. We
Well,
Google searched it and looked it up.
I don't think that had anything to do with the hire, though.
No, I don't either.
I hope it didn't.
Just
I
a
really hope it
coincidence.
didn't.
Well,
Yeah.
first and foremost, I think him being the tight ends coach in Denver was just a way to get him on the staff. I mean, guys, you could sit here all day and blame Declan Doyle for the tight end woes for the Denver Broncos. First of all, Adam Troutman and who's the other tight end there? What's his
God.
name? Yeah, exactly. As we sit here and try to think of the names of the tight end. I mean, you can't give a guy a turd and expect him to turn it into a piece of gold. I mean, listen, the Broncos tight ends were serviceable. They made plays in certain moments. They ran the right routes. They knew what they were doing. Not to mention Declan Doyle. The reason that he made him, do you guys know why he made him the tight end coach? Did you guys read this interview about Sean Payton and Declan Doyle?
I did not.
Because he became from the University of Iowa. That's why he made him the tight end coach. University of Iowa is known for producing some of the best tight ends in all of the NFL. That's why he automatically just put him as the tight end coach, because apparently Declan Doyle was not only a student assistant for Iowa, but worked with the tight ends closely, very closely, more closely than almost anybody else on the staff besides the tight ends coach. That's why Sean Payton made that transition, first and foremost. Second of all, I mean, this guy doesn't have a very extensive coaching history, right? There's not much for us to go off. All we can do is look at but I can tell you this guy has now been hired twice by Sean Payton, one of the best offensive minds in all of the NFL. I don't think that's debatable in any way, shape, or form. And worked for Kirk Ferentz for what? For how long has he been at Iowa, Sean? How long has he been the Iowa coach? He's one of the most well-respected coaches in all of college football.
Yeah.
Kirk Ferentz, he's been there for like 30 years, right?
Yeah, he's been there a long while.
His record at Iowa is like 204 and 124 or something like that. So he's been there for a very long time. These are two of the most well-respected coaches in football.
Can I ask you this? Because this is something I stumbled on today. I didn't know this. The Denver Broncos offensive coordinator is talking right now with the Lions to be their offensive coordinator, John Morton. And you would think if Sean Payton had this Declan Doyle so highly touted, he would, since Sean Payton's the play caller, he would probably have made him his own OC, at least that offer.
Maybe he wasn't ready because he was 28.
Yeah, plus the Broncos still have an OC under contract, man.
Yeah,
but you still talk to the guy within your organization, man. You do that. You get ahead of that. If you're a good head coach, you get ahead of that. If you're like, this guy can't go anywhere, he's fucking great, I'm about to lose my guy. The guy who's great could get a promotion. We'll let him talk to the Bears.
I mean,
hold on, shut the front door. The Bears guy?
Who?
Is this the Bears? Oh, no, that's Chris Morgan.
John Morton.
Yeah.
John Morton. Sorry.
You guys, another thing about Doyle is, is it just me, or is it pretty obvious that Ben Johnson sees himself in this kid, right? I mean, this is about the same age that Ben Johnson started coaching football.
Yeah.
He took almost the same exact path.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody around the league was like, Ben Johnson's a really young guy, but he's an up-and-coming, really good offensive mind. He's an offensive genius. At some point, he's going to be a really good offensive coordinator. I've read every article about Doyle I could possibly read. By all accounts, everybody in the NFL thinks at some point this guy is going to be an offensive genius in the NFL somewhere.
He very well could be.
What I think Ben Johnson is doing is he's hiring an offensive coordinator thinking about the future. He's like, this year, I'll kind of let Doyle get situated. I'll do all the play calling. I'll do everything. And then at some point, I'm going to start to groom him for that position, and he's going to be the next great offensive coordinator in the NFL. I think he sees himself in this kid. I think that's exactly what you're watching right now. I think Ben Johnson was given a chance by somebody when he was very young, and he's like, I'm going to do the same thing for this guy who everybody else in the NFL seems to love and respect.
And you want to know too, I mean, you know who's calling the plays and who's designing the offense. So it's maybe he's going to help the passing game, but as Mike Ross said, somebody has to get the coffee, right? I'm just kidding, Declan Doyle.
Yeah, guys, I can tell you this. I'm certainly not going to judge Declan Doyle for how Adam Troutman and Greg Dulcich played on the Denver Broncos. I can tell you that for a fact right now.
But
I am not going to judge him for their play by any means necessary. Both those guys are useless and should not be playing.
If you were at a restaurant and your server was serving you food, man, and the food sucks, you're not marching in the kitchen, right? I mean, the person, you have to evaluate somebody based on what they're doing in front of you.
You're not blaming the server for your food.
Well, kind of.
Would you do that? Would you be like, why is my steak overcooked, server?
You kind of do.
You need to get better at your cooking skills, sir. He's going to be like, dude, what are you talking about? Why don't you talk to the manager? I just brought it to you.
But I understand why you're saying, like, we should negate the production of Broncos tight ends. I don't care about that. That was just the guy's job. It doesn't matter. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Hey, really quick, guys.
What I'm saying, Vernon, is if he had been hired as the Kansas City tight ends coach, you'd be like, this is the best coach in the NFL.
No, because I don't think the Kansas City tight ends coach is the best coach in the NFL.
Somebody has to be the Broncos tight ends coach.
The Kansas
regardless
City
of how shitty the players are that they draft and sign. Somebody still has to coach them. He just drew the shortest straw.
I don't think we're going to be able to analyze this guy.
I don't think so either.
I really don't. I don't think we're not going to lose the game and be like, that Declan Doyle. If only he
there's
was
not
better.
enough depth.
But I also believe that's why he was hired, because he's basically irrelevant.
Really quick
Yeah.
too, Dano said Josh Simmons, as we were talking, Josh Simmons is an absolute monster, 6'5", 310 pounds, a very fluid mover.
Dano, that's an upgrade.
Yes, he has initial quickness, change of direction, balance, sense of urgency to his play. Yes, he is an upgrade. Dano, I like that name a lot. I do.
Sean, aren't you forget? Let's talk about Al Harris, guys. I mean, this is for.
I haven't forgot about Al Harris.
Huge hire.
I'm just staying with the comments, bro.
Yeah, Al Harris was.
This is a huge
really,
hire.
really
I mean,
good
it's not just because Al Harris is so notably respected around the NFL, but this guy was a bear killer for 10 years, man. Like, is there anybody you hated more in the NFL than Al Harris for a span of 5 years? As a Bears fan, is there anybody you hate? Not only was Al Harris great at his job and he was a bear killer, but he was an asshole. So the Bears fans despised him, hated him more than anything in the world. For him to come here and take this job and you guys see that he already got Tyreek Stevenson involved in some sort of off-season camp to pull his head out of his ass. I mean,
hey, Dino, hey, Brandon, didn't I text you guys? This guy's going to work wonders with Tyreek Stevenson as soon as he was hired.
I feel like I hammered home the point that the Bears are going to have to find somebody who can handle this guy.
I'll tell you this. I love the fact that the Cowboys are crying that they lost this guy, and I love the fact
that was reported in Dallas as very bad news.
And guess what? Awesome. This is one of those, we're sticking it right to Green Bay. I love it. I love it.
I know.
I love it.
Yeah. So you guys, real quick, Al Harris texted him the day he got hired and said, Tyreek Stevenson, I want you to join the Pete Houlihan's off-season performance training program. And he did. He is now at that. Tyreek Stevenson is now enrolled in that program. So he will be going to perfect his skills
how does that work?
as a corner. What's that?
Aren't they supposed to? It wasn't the new agreement that the players in the offseason aren't asked,
a pain in the ass,
cannot be asked to do things related to football?
Well, I mean, hey, man, if it's your passion, it's something you love, and you're looking for something to do in the offseason.
No, but I thought a lot of these guys couldn't legally ask.
I'm sure maybe he just suggested it. Hey, maybe it's something I recommend to you if you want to go check it out. I mean, you think Cole Kmet's obligated to go to tight end university? No, but he loves what he does. He wants to perfect his art, and he goes there to get better every year.
But he also,
I think it's great for Tyreek Stevenson.
He also teaches, doesn't he, at tight end university, Cole Kmet?
Maybe now, not his first year, but maybe
part of the leadership there.
Well, plus, man, ultimately, Tyreek Stevenson, this is going to determine how much money you make. If you can get better at the cornerback position, ultimately, it's going to determine if you make generational money in this league at some point. So if that's something Tyreek Stevenson could do to perfect his talents, then he needs to go do that, because Tyreek Stevenson, by all accounts, has not been a very good player since being drafted in the second round. He needs to do something to get better. And he needs to.
Track says they can suggest conditioning. Conditioning is okay.
Okay.
No contact.
I would hope that they're conditioning anyway, right? I hope they're not just like, all right, well, the season's
I would imagine
over. Let's go eat some hot dogs.
This thing that Al Harris is asking Stevenson to attend, it's got to be regarding mental ability to play the game, right?
Both.
That's where he falls short.
Both.
Trey, you're hitting it on the head, buddy. Hey, really quick, everybody in the tracks, Bearski, Mike Ross, Dano, Dustin, man, I love you guys. You're making this so much easier for us. Ruiz 7, thank you. Round of applause.
Yeah, you guys.
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
He's already there. He's already there. He's already at the camp. That's him at the camp of
you know what? That makes me feel good, because I was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I was really worried about Tyreek Stevenson. That's showing me a lot right there, that this kid cares. He's buying in, and that's huge, man, because I'll tell you, watching that interview again, when Ben Johnson came on and he turned and looked right at those players and said, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And he gave them that speech. We're going to set this bar higher than it's ever been. Man, to me, that was powerful stuff, man. Just dead-eyed, didn't move for 1 second, and said, this is the new Bears. Like, that was powerful stuff to me, guys. I'm sorry. That was beautiful, and it was my favorite part of the entire interview.
And just this coach's approach has been very different. Like Kyle just said, Al Harris reached out to Tyreek Stevenson the day the Bears hired him, and not only did he reach out to him, guys, he immediately identified, because he's probably watched tape of this defense, I'm sure. He immediately identified not only this guy's a good player, I don't want to cut him. I don't want to trade him. I don't want him out of here. And B, he's got a problem. You have to identify that early and often, because now Al Harris is like, I'm going to get ahead of this. I don't want a guy cheering with the fan base in the middle of the final play of the game. I'm going to address this now before that happens on the field again. So he's aware of the talent. And he's aware that the talent needs help. He needs to be guided along.
Yeah, and if you notice, he didn't ask Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon to go to this camp. He picked one guy out. Was like, hey, attitudes. I think this might help you, bud.
Hey, Mike Ross, we have that feeling too. I think Kyle reported last week that Brisker was still in concussion protocol as well.
Yeah, as of last Monday, he is still not out of concussion
and
protocol.
You got to think there's a doctor somewhere telling this guy, don't play football,
don't do it,
man. Unless you just want to be stupid forever. Like, I'm sorry, guys. The ultimatum, like, if I'm in the position that Jaquan Brisker's in, I'm just going to say this to you, Jaquan Brisker. You got a family at home. You're the father of somebody, you're a husband, or you got your NFL playing career. You've made money, man. If it's between your mental health and playing more football, dude, walk away.
Yeah.
Well, plus, man, him and Tua Tagovailoa are smart enough to make a business together.
Right.
And make money elsewhere, dude.
Well, Tua's obviously not that smart, because he said he would go brain dead playing football. So,
all right, question, guys: if Jaquan Brisker plays next year, does he play the whole season in a Guardian cap?
That's been his biggest problem, man. I mean, even outside of the concussions, I mean, he's missed a lot of games.
Sean, you didn't hear the whole question.
Does he play with a Guardian cap?
He said, does he play the whole season in a Guardian cap?
That's I mean, he should if he even plays. I mean, wasn't DeMar Hamlin wearing one yesterday?
Yeah.
DeMar
Hamlin. I gotta say this, man, real quick, because we're gonna get to those games later, guys. But DeMar Hamlin is vastly improved.
Yeah, he's starting.
Definitely an impact player. I'm sorry, guys. I know it was tragic what happened to him. I'm so glad that he came out of that. Kudos to the staff from both those organizations taking care of him. But he wasn't very good the year that he had the cardiac arrest on the field. He just
wasn't.
I did not expect him to get back into playing condition, guys, and he has proven me wrong. So good for him. Good for DeMar Hamlin.
Wasn't he a rookie though that year?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was 21. I mean,
he was a secondary, or he was a backup.
Sixth-round pick.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was not a starter.
Yeah, Track says when he played at college ball in Virginia, he's talking about. I think he's talking about what they're allowed to do in the offseason there. And then Mike Ross says he's had 3 concussions in 3 years. I think he's had 4 dating back to college, Mike. So it's definitely something he should be concerned about.
But Mike's right. He's had as many concussions in the NFL as he's played seasons.
Yeah. And then Dan Blake Norspring says he should wear one of those helmets, but he's not going to. And then Mike Ross says he's probably had 6. Yeah,
I'll tell you, he's our new Mike Brown, guys. He's our new Mike Brown.
It sucks because I believe Jaquan Brisker is a very good player, and part of the reason he's a very good player is because he plays violently, and I think that's what's gotten him into the predicament he's in. So asking him not to do that, hey, Javon, maybe take a step back, don't hit people so hard. It's just not the same. It's not the same Jaquan Brisker. So.
I mean, and what sucks, guys, is we as bad as this season was, one of the bright spots is he was blossoming into what was going to be an elite top 5 safety in the NFL. He was making. I mean, you remember the hit that concussed this guy? He basically killed a guy. So
he did. And the guy Sanders is 3 times bigger than him too.
No, I think it was Gamble who's bigger than Sanders.
No, it was Tremble. It was Tommy Tremble.
Yeah,
I thought
Tremble
it was
twice the size.
Sanders that.
It was Tremble.
It was Tremble. He knocked Tremble unconscious.
Well,
but Tremble's like, Sean Tremble is a much larger guy than Sanders.
Sanders. I knew the guy was huge. I actually just deleted the clip out of here so I could put in all these college clips. Unfortunately, I could have just played it.
I don't know if we want to relive it now, man. What's messed up too, guys? Bears fan, the guys in the chat out there. I don't know if y'all remember this. He finished the Panthers game after he destroyed Tremble. He played an entire 2 quarters.
You didn't finish it, but he played like 10 more plays after that. And that's
I don't know if that's good for the NFL.
The Bears should have got. Yeah, it was very close to the end. It was like 4 minutes left in the game. They pulled him out, but the Bears should have got.
That's not good, guys. Contact immediately after concussion can make that problem much, much worse.
All right, well, real quick, guys. I just want to ask you guys something, and this is to Trey's point. I think George finally listened to the fans.
Yeah.
Since now looking at the coaching staff that he started to put together here, looking at the fact that the Bears are obviously an organization that somebody like Ben Johnson wanted to come to. You know, this was where he desired to be. Is the culture changing a little bit?
Well,
I
I believe
believe
the identity is changing, and they believe that the culture can follow.
the culture changed with that introductory interview.
I believe
I do.
that I believe that
I think it
Kevin
set the
Warren.
standard.
I believe that Kevin Warren is changing the culture on this team. I think George is doing very unprecedented things since the addition of Kevin Warren. We haven't really gotten to gauge Kevin Warren too much because he's so involved in that stadium. You really just don't hear him speak too much. You don't know his football education. You don't really know his background outside of business. I mean, did this guy grow up loving football? Who knows, guys? But I do think this. I think he's had an influence over George McCaskey. I do. And I think his influence over George McCaskey wasn't to run the show. I think it was to, George, let's hire the right people and just let them fucking do their thing.
So with all
Like,
due respect,
you just sit back and make your money. I'm going to keep working on the stadium. Let the football guys do the football stuff, man. Let Ryan Poles run your football team because that's why you hired him. And that's why he hired me, so that I can tell you that you hired him so you should run your football team.
is it just me, or does Kevin Warren kind of look like Donatello from those old Ninja Turtle movies? You have to admit, dude.
He's a little too, he's not turtly enough for the turtle.
He kind of looks like him, dude.
Hey, Trax, we did touch on this a little bit earlier on some of the numbers, but I did not know that Tom Brady, he gave Tom Brady a ton of fits. So not too many people gave Tom Brady fits. So
Yeah, so they say that Dennis Allen is basically a defensive passing game guru. So he is a secondary guru. So I 100% expect Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, and Jaquan Brisker, Tyreek Stevenson, if these guys play, I expect them to have some of their best seasons as pros. Now, that's tough to do for Jalen Johnson. But what's up, V-Dog? Thanks for joining us, man.
Is Al Harris just the secondary coach?
He's the passing game coordinator for the
defensive passing game coordinator. Yeah.
He's the passing game coordinator for the defense.
I agree with the secondary is going to be very good. Guys.
I agree with Trex here, man. You got to give a shout out to George, dude. It seems like George has decided to take a step back and say, "Hey, you guys know football. I want to be a fan. I want to root for a winner. You guys show me how to build a winner."
You would think he wants to root for a winner. It's his fucking organization. How long did it take for him to want that?
I love you guys in the chat.
Mike says turtle power. Dan says cowabunga. I guess George is the rat, right? he's what, Splinter? What's his name?
Oh, good. Splinter, yeah.
All right, real quick, guys. V-Dog just joined the show, and he says, "What up, fellas? I don't know about you all, but I'm in complete shock that we finally ended the big fish in the top of the chain elite mind of Ben Johnson, and we got a high quality around him." Yeah, well, that's what we're talking about right now, V-Dog. It just seems like something has changed inside this Bears organization. You can kind of feel the tides turning a little bit. I feel like this is a team that players are going to want to come play for now. I think the Bears basically at this point in free agency are going to be one of those teams where they kind of get their pick of the litter, right? They can kind of basically pick out of anybody, and anybody will come play for Ben Johnson, will come play in Chicago, especially with the amount of money we have left in free agency. I feel like you guys, I honestly believe, whether people like to give Ryan Poles credit or not, whether you like him or not, I don't care. I think the culture changed a little bit with the drafting of Caleb Williams. I think that's where it started for me personally. I think the second
that's where I think the see. I want in a little bit. I want to talk about the Bears' identity. Because the Bears need an identity before they need a culture.
Well, you've heard Ben Johnson say numerous times now, this is a quarterback-driven league. This in the recent years, this has become a more quarterback-driven league than it ever has been.
If you take the first overall pick, if your first overall pick in the draft is a franchise quarterback, the year before you hire an offensive guru of a head coach, 5 years before you build a dome, your identity is changing. You're not the cold weather, hard hitting defensive run the football team you were. That's just, clearly Bender Johnson has a different direction.
They're saying 4 years. They're saying 4 years.
Yeah, the shovels in the ground, saving by Warren. I don't buy it, but yeah, they could. Who knows? But I do think that's their identity is changing towards a more modern NFL team. I think they want to be based around. I think they want to be the successful. I think they want the offense to be the successor. That's the unit they want to depend on.
What was that on the 4 years?
We said they're going to have shovels in the ground in 2025 at Arlington Heights, and they expect the stadium to be built in 4 years. That was the quote.
4 years. That will leave them 2 years left on their contract. Because I think going into this year, they had a 7 year contract left with Soldier Field, if I'm not mistaken.
Guys, Track says you guys like Tyrann Mathieu for safety with the Saints DB connection. Good safety, tall, strong, aggressive. I mean, if that's something the Bears are willing to do and they have the money to spend, I'd be
Isn't he the
absolutely
honey
fine with
badger?
Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah,
I'd be fine with him coming.
If
Tim-
Brisker couldn't play, that'd be a good guy to have, man.
Joe Dicka, Tim says, Flash. Whoa. He'll save every one of us. New York Jets quarterback. And then V-Dog Sean, this is directly to you, it looks like. V-Dog talks to you directly a lot, Sean. He says,
What's up, V-Dog?
He says, Sean, did you see Caitlin Colner? I don't know who that is. Most recent piece on ESPN. Everyone is still aghast. Also, we did the right thing. Owners were putting pressure on George to catch up with the rest of the league. Yeah, it seems that way. I think the NFL...
The league is pretty shocked with
Yeah.
how the Bears are handling themselves.
I
want to say,
V-Dog,
said something.
I'm shocked too. I'm not going to lie.
And it started here. Dustin said something that I couldn't agree with more. He said the firing of Matt Eberflus that involved George McCaskey in no way, shape, or form. Guys, George McCaskey has owned this team as long as he has. They haven't done this.
I think all he had to do was give permission.
They haven't done this in 100 years. I think Ryan Poles said to George, I got to get rid of this guy, man. He's a problem. And I think Kevin Warren said, allow Ryan Poles to do what he thinks is best. That's what you pay him for. That's kind of how I saw this, because there's no way George just gave that the stamp of approval. Somebody has to be whispering in his ear, man. He's doing things differently. He's doing things like you just said, Sean, as if he wants to win more than make money. When most people, all these owners should understand, guys, the more you win, the more fucking money you make. It doesn't seem like these guys can get their head around. The business owners that are owners in the NFL, the business guys, they can't seem to wrap their head around the fact that winning makes money.
You know what?
The Chiefs are making a lot of money.
I forgot.
Chiefs are making a lot of money.
Hey, really quick on Crooked Commish, this is a great segue. Anyone near AZ to go to any of these spring training games? We're all in Chicago, but ladies and gentlemen, if you do like the Cubs, I believe Kyle and I and a gentleman by the name of Kristen DaCosta will be starting a baseball show on Saturdays. Maybe Brandon and Dustin will join us every once in a great while. Brandon rocking that Cubs jersey or sweatshirt right now. But yes, we're going to get something going. We're just waiting for it to get a little bit closer to spring training camp and trying to work out, dot some I's, cross some T's, and get everything going. But I think we're going to try and do it on Saturday morning.
Since you threw it in here, Crooked, I'm going to ask real quick, guys. We can't go into this too long. Did the Cubs try to acquire Luis Robert?
No,
not that I've heard.
He's on the block.
They have
The
too many
Sox have
outfielders.
said they would trade him.
Dude, the Cubs have too many outfielders as it is. I mean, own cases to come up here at some
I know,
point.
but you would
still
have
don't know
to
if you do
trade maybe two of those.
Pico
You would
Armstrong.
have to trade an outfielder.
Well,
You're
Ian
not going
Happen,
to keep Suzuki in a trade for Luis
Bert,
Robert.
Ian Happen, say Suzuki have no trade clause, so they determine where they go.
Oh, that was dumb. Yeah,
Trey Wrigley is 111 years old. I'm pretty sure. If not, it's 110.
James, what's up, brother?
What's up, James? Welcome back, brother.
Man. And he says,
What's up, James?
no, he's not going to any spring training.
Hey,
He's
but
not
James
going to any
Kelper is a
spring
big time Cubs fan, so hopefully we'll see you on Saturday mornings.
I
We're
think
gonna
he
try
said
to do
no to the trade, Kyle.
do a thing off This Week in Baseball. We'll do last week's.
Maybe the Luis Robert trade. Yeah, Luis Roberts just had a problem with consistency and staying healthy. But I know I would not trade the White Sox for anything right now.
You know, Crooked, I heard he blew 8 saves last year, but he had a very, very strong playoff. I don't know. I wish the Cubs would have went and got a younger.
Seemed like bargain shopping to me, Sean. I don't know. We'll get into that on Saturday when we talk about it. But.
And I agree,
All these
Dano.
guys
I wish
know
they'd
Cubs
get
too.
Bregman. And on Bregman, really quick, the thing I read, and it was actually on what's his name on the score on Saturday, Bruce Levine. He said that the catch up
Bruce
with Lance Bregman or Alec Bregman is the fact he wants a 5-year deal, and the Cubs are only willing to offer him a 1 to 3 year deal. At his age of 30 years old, 5 years is a long time.
Sean, didn't they adjust the third base? Isn't that where Bird plays?
That is going to be where Matt Shaw is going to play.
Well, didn't they just sign that Bird guy?
That guy is going to be the utility guy off the bench.
Yeah.
The guy from the Yankees?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be the utility player.
The Bird guy's a utility guy.
Here,
prepared
James and Dano, I would love Bergman to
Everybody's
be here
heard
because
about
that
him.
would put the
That's
Cubs
for
way
sure.
over the top. I think that you add Bergman and the Cubs walk away with this division. I don't think there would be a more talented team. But that 5-year deal and the money he's looking for, I'm not blaming the Cubs for just saying hold back just a
I didn't
tad.
know they signed the guy from the Yankees. They must have missed the newspaper. Must have been missing the
It was
ornithological
John Birdie,
of an avian
Berti.
variety.
Birdie.
Trade Horner, move Shaw to second. Oh man, I love Nico. I'm a Nico Horner guy. That's a tough one.
I would trade him.
All right, let's dive back into the team that
Go Cubs.
Let's get into some of these. You guys want to go to the AFC NFC championship games?
Yeah, because we got a little bit of time left, so Brandon's got to take off, and I'm ready to lay down. So
yeah, what a weekend. What a weekend. The Super Bowl nobody wanted.
I was okay with the Eagles, I guess. I mean, the NFC didn't really, the Bears weren't on the NFC side, so I didn't really care, but I definitely wanted the Bills. I definitely wanted the Bills.
I wanted anybody but the Chiefs, man. That's what crushed my soul in these two championship games.
Let's start with the game that was early in the day.
Yeah,
sure.
Okay, let's go Commanders and Eagles. So we
I've
talked
been
about
driving this home. Do you guys believe this Eagles team can lose to even the Chiefs if they keep running the football at
No.
9 yards a carry?
No.
I mean, it just isn't slowing down. It's actually gaining momentum, this run game, as they play each week. And
Now-
the less healthy Jalen Hurts is, the better Saquon Barkley gets, it feels like.
Well,
Like,
I'll say
it's
this,
just
Brandon.
fate working itself out for them.
I'll say this. Let's see how these couple linemen that got hurt, if they can bounce back in 2 weeks. Because
Jalen Carter actually went down for a little while in that game.
So it's big, man. But I'm with Dean. I don't think the Eagles, they can lose, but I don't think they're going to lose. The defense is good, man.
If all you have to do is run the ball, how do you lose?
Well, I can tell you this, man. Watching that Chiefs game, their biggest flaw on defense was stopping James Cook. So if Saquon Barkley could do what he did, that's going to be a long day for the Kansas.
And you want to know,
Saquon Barkley is better than James Cook.
You want to know what's funny about that is if you go back to maybe week 10, 11, the Chiefs were top 4 in rushing defense. They finished at number 8, and they were only giving up like 70 or 80, 85 yards, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but they were giving up under 100 yards to finish the season at 101 yards per game. That rush defense towards the end of the season kind of fell off because you jumped about 15, 20 yards. And Barkley, you're right. Barkley's no James Cook is no Barkley, and Barkley was eating them alive yesterday. And thank you, Joe Brady, you dumbass, for not using him in the last 6 plays. So we'll get to that.
James Cook.
Yeah, thanks for those two gentlemen for hitting my parlay and each getting 2 touchdowns. I didn't know I could have done a 2-touchdown bet. I didn't know I could have done that with Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen too. Would have been $1 billion payout.
Dean says Eagles can't lose. Trey says Spags outsmarts the best of them. Mike Ross says Eagles are the only thing standing between us and more Mahomes commercial.
Hey, you want to know what's really funny about? I want to go back to Trey saying that Spags outsmarts the best of them. How about the game inside the game in this Super Bowl? Spags versus Fangio, defense and defense. Holy mackerel. That's amazing. And that's honestly, I hate the Eagles. I'm not an Eagles fan, but I'm rooting for Fangio to get that ring, man.
Sean, let's also start to talk. It's time to start talking about Kellen Moore more often. I mean, this guy, everywhere that guy goes,
they're good.
They're an offense that does enough. They control the pace of the game. The Eagles always control the pace of the game, no matter who they're playing. You know that the Commanders wanted to come out and have that game be up and down the field, and the Eagles just don't let that happen. They take the top off the offense, so you can't throw downfield on them, so they make you do these long 10, 11, 12, 13 play drives. They know you're going to make a mistake eventually, which is exactly what happened to the Commanders with 3 fumbles. They know eventually you're going to make a mistake if they keep doing that. And then exactly what Brennan said, they have an offensive line that if Saquon Barkley runs up the middle, he's not touched until 3 yards after he grabs the ball. And then he's the guy who's capable of making people miss after that. So, I mean, if the Eagles can run the ball like they have all season against the Chiefs, I don't see any way in which the Chiefs could beat them unless the referees cause some ridiculous penalties. I just don't see any way in which the Chiefs can beat them. I don't think it's possible. But I want to talk real quick, guys, about Josh Allen.
Hold on. I want to talk real quick about this craze that occurred, guys, not but a week ago. I mean, and I am not disrespecting or taking anything away from the season that Jaden Daniels had. But Jaden Daniels was a rookie quarterback going into the NFC Championship game. And all I heard was, Jay, the Commanders are going to the Super Bowl. It was like a given. Commanders Super Bowl. Commanders going to the rookie showed up. And I'm not saying that, guys, because he went out there and lost the game. He didn't. He didn't go out there and he didn't lose their game. What he did, though, was those almost always accurate deep balls that this guy's thrown all year, he just couldn't find. I mean, guys, that play where he had, I don't know what happened. The pocket broke down and he backed up and he gave himself an extra like 5 or 6 seconds to throw the ball. And he threw a probably 40-yard pass and it was nowhere near anyone but 2 defenders. And I thought to myself, the rookie's rattled. So as good as the Eagles are and as good as they looked in that football game, it was only a matter of time before that Jaden Daniels.
Well, yeah, but Brian, you have to assume that the Eagles applying pressure on him constantly is what started to rattle him. I mean, that was probably their game plan. I mean, they were getting sacks from guys I've never heard of before. There's guys on the Eagles getting sacks. I'm like, who the hell is this? There's like 10 of them. I'm like, who's this guy now? But yeah, I mean, the goal for a rookie quarterback should be to pressure him constantly all the time. And that's what the Eagles did. And they're going to do the same thing to Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. That Eagles defensive line is right now, nobody can stop them. And the Chiefs, as good as the Chiefs are, guys, they're not a top 5 offensive line in the NFL right now.
No.
They're good.
Yeah, they're pretty good, though.
I think they are. I thought they were a top 5 unit.
No, the Eagles are not a top 5. I mean, look at their pieces individually, guys.
The Eagles? The Eagles or the Chiefs? The Eagles or the Chiefs?
The Chiefs.
The Eagles are number 1.
Yeah.
The Lions are number
1 offensive line. The
Lions are number 2.
You said Eagles. You said Eagles the second time.
I believe the Ravens were number 3. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to stop
the Colts.
Can
I point something out to you guys really quick? Jaden Daniels had a fantastic season, right? He scored on everybody, right? There was 2 teams that held this guy to 18 points. The Philadelphia Eagles last time they played in Philadelphia, and the Chicago Bears when they played in Washington. Last time Daniels played in Philadelphia, it was 22 of 32 for 191. He got sacked 3 times, threw a pick, had a fumble. He did not have a good game in Philadelphia. He had a better game yesterday, but a lot of that still reared its ugly head.
Defense really took that ball.
Yeah.
Trey says Mahomes is the only quarterback that can't be rattled. But go back and watch his first Super Bowl.
Yeah, he got rattled.
He got rattled. I think they said he ran something like 430 yards, and none of them were straight. None of them were up the field.
There was a mileage
field.
Well, guys, while Trey brings this subject up, can I dive into this really quick?
Sure.
I did some homework here, and
all right,
I gotta say,
I like homework.
I think the Bills are suffering from what I call the quarterback complex. And that is when you have a Hall of Fame type player, or I should say, an MVP type player at quarterback, you neglect the rest of your roster. Now, this is the Bills defense in Sean McDermott's tenure, okay? He was drafted he was hired in 2017. Josh Allen was drafted in 2019, where Brian Dable obviously did remarkable work with Josh Allen in his development. They have been to the playoffs every year that Josh Allen has been their quarterback. Josh Allen has not had a season without a playoff appearance. In 2019, they lost in the first round. Josh Allen was a rookie, definitely not the player he is today. We're going to negate that season. We'll knock that one off. After that, these are McDermott's defenses in elimination games, guys. Now, when you're Brandon Beane, you're running this team. Sean McDermott's your coach. He's a defensive guy. You know at some point you're going to run into Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, or Joe Burrow, right? What would you probably prioritize for your defensive head coach in free agency or in the draft? KC 2020, the Bills get to Kansas City. They lose. They allow 38 points. They get 1 sack for 0 yards. 2021, they lose to Kansas City. They allow 42 points. They have 2 sacks. This is the Bills. They have 2 sacks for 8 yards. 2022, they play Cincinnati. They allow 27 points, 1 sack for 2 yards. 2023, they allowed 27 points to the Chiefs. They lose again, 0 sacks, 0 yards. 2024, they allowed 32 points yesterday, guys. They had 2 sacks. One of them was Milano, open field, incredible play for 12 yards. So the combined sacks in elimination games for this Buffalo defense since Sean McDermott has run this team, guys, they have 6 sacks for 22 yards in their combined 5 elimination games. And Leonard Floyd had 10.5 sacks last season, guys. That is the most a player has acquired under Sean McDermott under any season he's been a head coach. 10.5 sacks is the most a player's acquired under Sean McDermott. When you're eventually going to run into Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow, why the hell has this team not prioritized this? Why the hell do they allow quarterbacks who we just heard from Trey can't even be rattled to begin with? They don't even try to pressure these guys. And here's the worst part about it, because you could say, well, that's Brandon Beane. Sean McDermott's not available. He's not accountable for that. He has over his 5-year average, he's 14th in blitz percentage, meaning that even when he's not provided with a stud defensive end, a stud pass rusher, this guy does nothing to get after the best quarterbacks in the league in the biggest moments of their seasons. It's negligence. The dude, I'm sorry, this is not going to be a big popular opinion. Sean McDermott should be fired, and Josh Allen's career might dwindle away with him being the head coach. That's how I feel about that dude. Sean, that defense sucks. I told you they were going to lose.
Really quick, I want to pile on to Brandon Beane here because he was the guy who traded up for Dalton Kincaid, who had 2 major drops in that game yesterday. He traded out of the 33rd pick, took Keon Coleman, passed up on Ladd McConkey and Xavier Worthy,
and
who
gave
burned
the
the
Chiefs
shit
the
out of the Bills yesterday.
And gave the Chiefs the pick that they took of Xavier Worthy.
And one more thing I want to point out, because everyone knows my love for Josh Allen, and I shared this with you guys earlier, so everyone knows his last 2 postseasons, 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 5 rushing touchdowns, 70% completion percentage, 4.6% sack percentage, number 1 in adjusted EPA per play, minimum 100 plays, number 1 success rate. Teams with 4 touchdowns, 0 turnovers are 21-2 in the playoffs since 2020. The only 2 losses, the Bills yesterday, and then the Bills at the Chiefs in 2021. The Bills don't have a Josh Allen problem. They got a lot of other problems.
They have a defensive problem.
I mean, Josh
Their
Allen
head
also did
coach
not
is
play
defensive.
the style of football that Josh Allen usually plays. He wasn't as aggressive as he normally was. Josh Allen looks like he's a little nervous. And you know what, Sean, when you lose to the same team over and over and over and over and over and over, that spot when you finally meet them in the playoffs every next year becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. We saw it with Peyton Manning against Tom Brady. We saw it for years. Peyton Manning was probably a better passer than Tom Brady, but could not beat him. It couldn't get to the big game. Couldn't beat the Patriots in the playoffs time and time and time again. We saw it over and over and over again. Josh Allen did not play the way he normally plays. He was nervous. You could see it in his face, man. There was people asking him on the sideline, "You good, man?" When it came down to the 3 minutes left of the 4th quarter, I don't know if you guys saw, but Josh Allen was on the bench like, "Yeah, I'm good." Like, obviously coaches were worried about him. Like, "Hey, you sure? Because you don't look very good, man. You look nervous." But he just isn't the same aggressive player that he is to the rest of the season. When you watch him in the regular season, it looks so natural. It looks forced when he's in the playoffs, man. And Brandon, to your point, just to play devil's advocate, I mean, the Bills did address the defensive end position. They just paid the wrong guy. Von Miller, by all accounts, was a very good player.
That's Kyle. If the Bears signed Von Miller last season and told me they addressed the defensive end position, I tell them to get fucked. That's a 39-year-old. That guy was good 10 years ago.
And Kyle, to your point,
they just paid the wrong guy.
Hold on, guys.
For Josh Allen,
was the Bills roster this year was their ability to win now?
No, absolutely not. I said it all year.
The Bills could not have won now. So you don't think if the Bills with this team, if Brandon Beane had gone and called the Cincinnati Bengals,
they would have made some other
guy
moves,
who's been begging to get the hell out of there, and Trey Hendrickson, and you give him 2 first-round picks. I don't care what you go win a fucking Super Bowl.
Hindsight's 2020.
What are you doing?
Sean and I talked when the Bills made the trade for Amari Cooper. We liked the trade. It didn't work out. Sometimes trades like that just don't work out.
But
there's some certain stipulations, reasons that just doesn't work out. By all accounts, Amari Cooper before this season, Amari Cooper had a was a 1,000-yard receiver last year on the Browns. By all accounts, he's still a good receiver in the NFL. It just didn't work out in Buffalo for some reason. But you guys, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter and a chance to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game and move on to the Super Bowl, Josh Allen wasn't able to do it. Am I saying that Josh Allen's not a good quarterback? No, not by any means necessary. I think Josh Allen's a really good quarterback, but I don't think Josh Allen played his best yesterday when it mattered most. And at some point, if Josh Allen wants to get over the Kansas City Chiefs hump, he's going to have his best games in the playoffs. He has to.
But
It's
Kyle,
not an option.
It wouldn't hurt if when he plays Patrick Mahomes, they don't allow 38 points, 42 points.
Exactly.
32
And
points.
Kyle, I
That
have
would
to
help.
ask this
Agreed.
question because I've been arguing with you guys in text all day about this, and I started it yesterday, and I
Mike
started
Ross is killing it still.
Well, I started it at the beginning of the playoffs when I said ultimately I think the Bills can win the Super Bowl, but their playmakers might come into question when they get deep into the playoffs. Now, I just want to question: do the Bills win that game yesterday if a Justin Jefferson, a CeeDee Lamb type is on the Buffalo Bills for Josh Allen? They absolutely would have been able to move that football.
Sean, I also think they win that game if Patrick Mahomes is their quarterback.
Dude, you're minimalizing those dimes that Josh Allen actually kept.
All right, Sean, give me
that pinpoint accuracy on that ball to Mac Hollins in that perfect coverage by Trent McDuffie. I mean, you cannot cover better than that, and you cannot throw a ball better than
All right,
that.
Sean, well then just
The catch was really good too.
Right, fine. Both of you, collectively, both of you guys, give me Patrick Mahomes' top 3 targets in 2023 when the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Give me his best 3 offensive players last year when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Give me his best 3. Give me his top 3 players on offense when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year. Patrick Mahomes.
The Chiefs,
last year, the Kansas City Chiefs. Give me their top 3 offensive players last year.
The Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year predicated on their defense and not on their offense.
Just for the sake of the argument, give me their
It
top
doesn't
3
matter.
players
Their defense won them the Super Bowl last year.
Okay, well then, Sean, what are you picking? Picking defense, or are you saying they need CeeDee Lamb? What do they need?
The Bills need both.
So what you're saying is for Josh Allen to win a Super Bowl, it has to be perfect.
No, but
Patrick
you can't
Mahomes doesn't need it to be perfect.
You can't consistently give up 38 points in elimination games and think that's okay.
If the Bills had traded to acquire Trey Hendrickson, who led the league in sacks this year, do they stand a better chance of beating the Chiefs?
Of course, Bert. If they traded for Tyreek Hill,
if they can get
Miami,
any pressure at all on the best guys, you can't beat these people. You cannot beat Lamar Jackson. You cannot beat these guys if you can't get pressure on them. You can't.
Vernon,
it doesn't make sense to approach every season this way. Every offseason since McDermott's become a head coach, they neglect to address this position.
What hurt the Bills more than their pass rush yesterday was their secondary. I don't know who that guy that came in
the guy that got picked on the whole game.
What was the guy who came in? Was
that
awful.
Was that
awful?
Yeah.
Hey,
that guy does not belong in the NFL.
In 2023,
that guy sucks.
He doesn't belong in the NFL. That guy should not be playing in the NFL. That is the GM.
And
that guy should not have been on the roster.
Worthy is a nightmare to begin with.
But
here, and I will say this in defense of the Chiefs because I'm just not trying to minimize the Chiefs' greatness. When you play a team like the Chiefs, especially in Kansas City, your execution has to be tight. It has to be flawless, and
aided by the refs.
Josh Allen was not flawless.
I also it wasn't, but I also have to say we talked about this a little bit earlier in the show. James Cook was eating the Chiefs alive. How do you go into the last drive of the game and he's not even on the field?
Yeah,
it looked like his leg was broken.
He had been kind of phased. Like they had started using Ty Johnson a lot at the end of that game, and they also drafted a running back this year that's better than Ty Johnson. What the hell was Ty Johnson doing on the field, dude?
Well, Ray Davis was one touch he fumbled, man. So that may have been they may have just been punishing
You're right.
him.
Yeah, he also averaged like 44 yards a game, and he had 0. So like that, you can't take things away from your team that you've done consistently well. It doesn't matter if a guy fumbles in a. Do you know we saw the Commanders team every single one of those guys played the rest of the game. You don't pull a guy for the. That's a Sean.
Some do, some don't.
That's another Sean McDermott. Whoa, to me. What are you doing?
Really quick on that.
Sean just talked about how bad this team is. The receiver corps has no skilled positions. James Cook is dying on the sideline. Did you guys see him bent over at the knee
Yeah.
like he was like couldn't get up, like he's out of gas? And because Ray Davis fumbled in the first quarter, he doesn't belong on the field. After the guy
Yeah, I mean,
all
dude,
season long has
say
helped you every time
say
he's
this
been
team
asked
has
to.
no talent is a bit of. I mean, first of
They're
all, Khalil
they
Shakir
are
is a very good
offensively
receiver.
deficient at the skill positions on the offensive side of the ball.
Khalil Shakir is a very good receiver. Keon Coleman's going to be better next year. And Keon Coleman had
will.
some huge
Keon
games
Coleman
this
will
year.
be a
Here,
good
really
player.
quick. Is it a Joe Brady problem? Because Joe Brady, since taking over, he had 9 games with Stephon Diggs, 44 receptions, 388 yards, 1 touchdown. He's had 10 games with Amari Cooper, 26 receptions, 338 yards, 13-yard average, and 2 touchdowns. Is this a
Uh-oh.
Joe Brady problem?
Justin
Traded
says,
for this guy.
Dustin says if a guy fumbles on my team in the AFC Championship, he's riding the pine. Dustin, that means that Josh Allen would be riding the pine for you.
So would
He
Pat
fumbled
Mahomes.
twice.
Pat Mahomes fumbled too. Twice.
Sean, what I'm saying is Josh Allen had a chance with 3 minutes left in that game to make his own story, write his own story, set the narrative,
Sure.
beat the Chiefs, and move on to the Super Bowl and finally get over the Kansas City Chiefs hump. He was unable to do that. At the end of the day, 10 years from now, people aren't going to be like, but you remember the plays he made and people were dropping. At the end of the day, people are going to be like, Josh Allen could not beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoff. That's going to be the narrative. Whether we like it or not, that's the narrative.
That's a damn shame because that's not the way I think about Dan Marino. Because I'm going to ask you, what was the problem? No James Cook on the field, an awful screen pass call to Ty Johnson, the fact that they knew it was an all-out blitz and they did nothing to help Josh Allen.
Oh, that was
running
ridiculous.
back 15 yards.
So
throw the
obvious
perfect
they
pass
were
to
coming.
King Jobson. Exactly. Like
Call
they
a
did not
timeout,
help Josh
man.
Allen.
Yeah.
I know
Justin says, just to be clear, he says Ty Johnson's the pass catching back. So he says, sorry, if my third string running back fumbles in the AFC Championship game, he's riding the pine. I mean, Ty Johnson is their receiving back, but I agree with you guys. I think James Cook should also be the receiving back. I think he's the best player in that room, and he should be on the field as much as possible.
That approach just doesn't work. As a player fumbled in the Commanders game who later caught a touchdown. If they had benched him for the remainder of the game, he wouldn't have done that. Like, I don't know. I don't agree with that, man. I don't. I know you can't make mistakes in big games, guys. I know that. And I do expect the player to be. Actually, Dan Quinn pulled the first player that fumbled. What's that guy's name? It was Diami Brown or whatever. The first fumble. He pulled him to the sideline. He talked to him. He slapped him in the helmet. Told him to sit down, and the guy was in on the next drive.
That was impressive. And he had a big catch right after that.
Dustin says the Commanders lost by 50, Brandon.
Yeah.
It's still the coaching moment, dude. It was a great coaching moment. I watched that and I was like, wow.
It was something we didn't see all season long.
Well, let me tell you this, Sean. I love Josh Allen. You know that. But I hope somebody like Jaden Daniels takes a big leap next year and becomes dominant in the NFL. So that somebody could beat the Chiefs, because it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be Josh Allen.
It's gonna be fucking Caleb Williams.
Thank you. We had this discussion
That'd be nice.
earlier. Thank you.
You guys think the Bears are competing for a Super Bowl in 2025?
Hey, Pat
2025?
Mahomes isn't even 30, bro.
I think Caleb could very well meet Patrick Mahomes.
Sean, I'm talking about next year. I don't want to see the Chiefs win 4 in a row. So who beats them next year? It's not going to be Caleb Williams.
Kyle, I'm going to tell you this right now. I honestly sit here. If the Eagles come into that game healthy, I don't think the Chiefs are going to win this year.
I hope not. I'm
going to tell you. You look at this, and look, the Chiefs are a lot different in the playoffs. But we looked at these guys all season. How many games are all like, man, the Chiefs are just skating by. They're getting lucky every week. Sometimes
but Patrick Mahomes is undefeated in 1-score games, so it doesn't matter if they skate by. They still win every game.
Listen, though, Bo Nix has another year under his belt. Jim Harbaugh has another year under his belt. Pete Carroll just got hired as the Vegas Raiders coach. This is the best 4 coaches that have ever existed from the same division ever. And it's going to be very hard for the Chiefs to just take that division next year, guys. It is not going to be a gimme by any matter. The Denver Broncos defense is going to probably be the best in the NFL next season. They just keep getting better. Their quarterback is really young. Jim Harbaugh is just scratching the surface.
I didn't bet against the Chiefs.
He's just scratching the surface. Jim Harbaugh being in a Super Bowl next year would not surprise me one bit. Not at all. That's what this guy does. Every
Justin's
time he
the only
lines
one who picked the
organization.
Niners last year, dude. I think the rest of us picked the Chiefs, dude.
Justin, I am going to bet against the Niners. But to your point earlier in our
The
text,
Chiefs.
Justin,
The
we
Chiefs.
are witnessing greatness. The Chiefs have won 17 consecutive one-score games, 9 straight AFC championships, championships, 3 straight AFC conference championships. I mean, like we are witnessing greatness, and they're going for the third three-peat. And if I'm not mistaken, and I forgot to look this up, are the Packers? And I think they did it twice. Are they the only team to win 3 Super Bowls back to back?
Nobody has ever done it.
Nobody has in the Super
Nobody
Bowl
has
era.
ever won 3 Super Bowls
In
a
the
row.
Super Bowl era, but the Packers won
3.
3 in a row.
So
No,
did
they
the
didn't.
Browns. The
No, they
Browns
didn't. They
won
won
3
2.
championships.
Packers
The
won
Browns
2.
won 3
They won the
championships.
I
first
thought the
2 Super
Packers
Bowls.
won 3 in a row.
They won the first 2 Super Bowls ever in Super Bowl era.
No, he's talking about championships. Sean's
Oh, you're talking about like the 1920s, Sean?
No, 3
30s?
Super Bowls in a row.
No, it's
Nobody's
never
ever
been done.
done.
Never been done, man. It's never been done. No
Okay,
team has ever
I
won.
thought I didn't look it up, so I wasn't sure. I thought I heard somewhere that the Packers did it, but
I hope the Eagles win, but if I was gonna put money on it, I'd probably take the Chiefs because betting against them is not working.
Before the
anybody
Super Bowl
anymore.
era, guys, the Browns had 4 consecutive championships. I believe that's the streak outside of the Super Bowl era.
outside
The
of the Super
longest
Bowl era.
streak.
Hey,
I
I'm
think-
going to
I
tell you
think-
this. Barring injuries, I am betting the Eagles. I had a wonderful day. I hit on 4 of my 7 parlays. I am up, so I'm going to use some of that free cash, and I'm going to put it fly, Eagles, fly.
Martin Lutz says officiating is ruining the game of football, the NFL, and it's turning it into the WWE. I agree with you, man. Some of these
100%.
calls are starting to get a little
Well,
sketchy.
and
Starting
Martin,
to worry me a little bit.
And to that point, I want to exclude. I want everybody just exclude the Chiefs and their favoritism or whatever it is you believe. This year was awful, awful. There are so many
officiating?
things I can think. Guys, who was Sam Darnold's head almost got ripped off his body on the final play of an overtime drive, and they didn't call it. And then the Patriots. Okay, this is Kyle knows this. Kyle, I think you're the only person who ever said anything to me via text about this. The Patriots beat the fucking Bills in the game, right? Was it the Bills?
Yeah, that was a touch. I think it was the
Who said
Chiefs.
the Patriots beat by catching a touchdown in the final seconds of the game?
Yeah,
They reviewed
That was
it.
definitely a touchdown.
He gets both feet in bounds, controls the ball all the way to the ground, no issues. They reviewed it, and the Patriots still lost this football game. And Gerard Mayo came out and said, like, I can't believe this. And nobody paid any attention to it. It was like, yeah, the refs suck. That's where we got into, where when games, the results of the end of a game, the results of a game are changed by a ref, we just look past it.
Can I ask you guys a question? I want to ask this because I forgot to upload this picture because I really wanted to show it, but I've watched
Oh,
this on
God,
Twitter all
Sean.
day.
This is a family show.
I watched this on Twitter all day, and the still frame, and even Tony Romo said it. The Chiefs have to run a play before the 2-minute warning because there's a 1 second. He said it on the telecast. They let them take the 1 second and not run a play. I don't understand how that's even.
No, they're
legal
given a
in the
1
NFL.
leeway for the play clock.
That's bullshit.
It's allowed to hit 0 now.
Tony Romo
Have
said
you
it during
guys-
the game.
Did you guys hear what the officials said to the coaching staff of the Commanders for the third encroachment? Did you guys
Yes.
hear his
Yeah.
hot mic?
Well, the announcer said it too, man. They're
Yeah, the
allowed, the
announcer said
referees
it
are
too.
allowed to award a score if
Yeah.
if
That's
somebody's being
ridiculous.
unsportsmanlike.
What
Well, Bernard,
the
you can't just
hell?
let them keep doing the same penalty over and over and over for like the next 8
It
hours.
was actually kind of ridiculous that they kept. And here, and by the way, I love that Frankie Louvu guy. That guy's awesome, dude.
Yeah, he
what a
is.
hell of a football player, man.
He's a good player. Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
him and it's yeah. They've got a couple of good players on that line, man.
Well, guys, I know this is a reach, but my favorite part of that game is where Patrick Mahomes failed to spike a football after scoring a touchdown, dude. That should be all over Instagram today. That was the worst spike attempt
This
I've ever
worst
seen in
pass
the
of the
history of
day.
the NFL. He literally lost control of the ball on a spike. I'm sorry, but that's absolutely hilarious. He needs to give it to the
I got
offensive
to say
line.
though, guys, this dude, to Dustin's point, and like betting against, and I'm not gonna say don't bet against the Chiefs because Mahomes wasn't a quarterback, I'll bet against Andy Reid all day. He lost for 13 years in Philly. It took Mahomes for Reid to win championships. So I want to
Sure.
say this. You can. It is tough to bet against Mahomes because what I watched yesterday, guys, is just. I mean, that Bills team did do a pretty a decent job at getting into the backfield, but as I talked about their lack of pass
What's up,
rush,
Darius?
he just
Well,
took off every play. I mean, he did you hear Tom Brady say he had or Romo? I don't know who was doing the game. He had broken his rushing record in the playoffs by the third quarter,
Yeah.
and the Bills just didn't do anything to counter.
You want to know what was
I mean,
funny
I just
about that? It was the same damn play.
Yeah.
It was literally the same
he just
play.
he picked up 5 first downs consecutively with his legs. Not like play after play, but I mean all 5 of his running plays got first downs.
I
Like,
have a
how do you keep overlooking this? How are you not spying this guy at this point?
right, and it was
Sean
a bad.
McDermott is guys, what is good about Sean McDermott? What is good about
Burn,
this?
Josh Allen.
Burn,
Josh
I don't-
Allen.
Burn,
And
I
that's
don't
not even
disagree.
him.
I don't disagree with you, Bern. I am not a huge Sean McDermott fan. I was actually thinking about this yesterday. I was watching the game. This guy's supposed to be like a defensive mastermind, and his defenses have sucked for like the last 5 years,
Yeah.
dude.
What's up, Jared?
This is why I said before the playoffs, guys. The playoffs are so. Joe Burrow is one of the most. He is just as dangerous as Patrick Mahomes. If he could have sneaked into the playoffs, Joe Burrow is the guy I would have picked to knock off the Kansas City
Joe
Chiefs.
Burrow. Yeah,
When
I
that team
agree.
is on, they are on, man. And now they're about to lose T. Higgins, so now we can't say that Joe Burrow is going to have the best chance to beat Patrick Mahomes next year because T. Higgins is a crucial part of that offense. And there's rumors already starting to spread that T. Higgins is going to end up in Washington with Jaden Daniels. That would suck for the Bears. Absolutely big time would suck for the Bears. But Joe Burrow, the Bengals need to find a way to get that guy defense so he can be in the playoffs because football is so much more fun when Joe Burrow is in the playoffs. It's just so much more fun.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking anything away from that game, man. That game was awesome. That game yesterday was awesome. I just had a feeling when the Bills got the ball back with 3 minutes left, in my stomach, I knew they weren't going to pull it off. I knew they were not going to pull it off. I don't know about you guys, man, but I felt it. I'm like, there's no way
to the point.
Winning this game.
To the point of who said that? Martin. Didn't I text you guys during this game? This game looks more scripted than the WWE. Yesterday, while we were watching that game, I'm not going to take anything away, but I do want to ask you guys this. You guys know who Nick Wright is?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
He wrote this today, and I found this interesting. He goes, the following Hall of Famers won rings in the Jordan era in the NBA. Kareem, Magic, Bird, McHale, Isaiah, Drexler, Duncan, Robinson, Shaq, Kobe. He shut out Ewing, Barkley, Stockton, Malone. That's it. Mahomes is doing things that are different than any legend.
Did Drexler win a ring?
Drexler did with Houston, with the Dream back to back.
Sean, what's the question?
Do you agree with that? Is Mahomes more on a GOAT level than Michael Jordan right now?
And Michael, they can't
Mahomes
compare
isn't
the
even
two.
on Tom Brady's level.
Yeah,
He's
you
gotta
can't compare
climb
the
the
two. I
mountain,
will say
man.
this though, Sean. If he
Brady
wins
is
3
still the
Super Bowls
best
in a
of all
row, he's
time.
done something nobody has ever done before him. So is he different? Is he in the GOAT conversation? If he wins 3 Super Bowls, absolutely. Not even a doubt in my mind.
Eagles going to win.
And you know what? Unless Andy Reid has a heart attack, which I hate to say this because I don't wish for it, but I'm assuming. Listen, Andy Reid at some point, either if he doesn't retire, they're going to keep winning, man. Unless he has like some health issues, which I'm assuming at some point that's probably going to come.
Do you think he just blends nuggets and shoots them with a
Dude, that's
just shooting them up?
I like Andy Reid, man.
Do you think he's got an IV of nuggets when he's on?
You guys heard his commercials? It sounds like he struggles to talk.
No, not if he has to say fumble rooski.
Oh,
I
God.
can't believe you said that, Kyle.
Listen, I don't wish it. I don't want to put it in the air, but at some point, Andy Reid's either he's going to retire or his health is going to get the best of him.
He's going to have to remove the nugget IV from his arm at some juncture in life.
Dude, you guys hear these stories you guys hear the story that they have to, the rookie players have to bring him a bag of chips and candy on the sideline and
Shut
soda?
up.
Yes.
Andy Reid?
Yes, this guy's in his 70s. He's
11?
severely overweight. What?
What is he, 11? Got to bring him candy?
Oh
That's what
my
They just hand him
God.
like those Werther's caramels out of their pocket.
Dude, the Chiefs ain't winning the Super Bowl. Read this from Martin.
Saquon Barkley's birthday is February 9th. Super Bowl is February 9th. Bet on this guy. Fly, Eagles, fly. I did not know that, Martin.
And
Thanks for that little nugget.
how happy were you guys to watch him jumping up on the sideline for his fellow running back who's running for
Yeah.
a big play after he's already been benched because
Brandon,
he's kicked the
I
shit out
said
of his
this-
team too much.
I said this to my friend. I'm like, I wish so badly I could have watched that Eagles game with a Giants fan. Like, so badly. I wish I could have sat next to a New York Giants fan and been like, hey, how do you feel about this game? How do you feel about this game? I mean, letting
Guys,
Saquon Barkley go is the worst decision any franchise has ever made in the history of the NFL.
And good
Absolutely
for
just
Saquon Barkley, guys, because Sean, you said you're rooting for Vic Fangio. I said this to Dustin on
Yeah.
the bare minimum. If you guys watch the bare minimum,
Yeah.
I'm rooting for Saquon Barkley.
so am
I'm
I.
rooting for Barkley too. I
How
don't
could you
That's
not?
who I'm rooting for.
How could you
That's
not like
who I want to
Saquon
win.
Barkley?
I don't care about the Eagles. Fuck Philadelphia. That fan who was talking to that woman. By the way, I want to say this. I'm going to address you guys here now. To all those who consider yourselves men, even in Eagles jerseys at that stadium, how dare you, man?
Yeah.
Even as an Eagles fan, there's a guy who's basically borderline physically threatening a woman who's not even turning around to address it. And the Eagles fans all around this are rooting this
Doing nothing.
on.
Yeah.
In the Bears, in Soldier Field, guys, you start calling a woman the C word who's in the fetal position in her seat, you're probably getting escorted out of that field by a fan. Honest to
Well,
God.
escorted out would be the
So-
nice. I
Yeah.
think it's gonna.
Oh,
I don't
no,
think it's
I'm
gonna get
putting that
there.
aside for a second.
You get escorted
So I'm
off
gonna
on a
say
stretcher.
this: Eagles fans, all the
Disgusting.
men out there in that stadium in Philly, guys. When something like that's happening, it should be second nature. You know what I mean? For you to play that role, the protect. Like, how could you sit there and watch that occur because the
Yeah.
guy's wearing the same jersey as you?
Yeah.
You know why? Because you're all the same people, just like that guy.
Yep.
That's
I'll tell you this. There was a video Dov Kleiman posted on Facebook today or on Twitter. There was a pack of Eagles fans that followed two Washington Redskins fans out, harassed him up the block, pushing him in the back, stole his beanie cap. The dude tried to turn around and get it, saw like 10 Eagles fans and started booking the other way because he's going to get lynched. The NFL has to do something about this. You have to have a little bit more respect than this. And it's unbelievable what happens. Fuck Philadelphia fans.
I
want them to
think
win
it's
the
a
Super
shame
Bowl,
that
but-
I think it's a shame that when something like that occurs, it's up to good people to stand up.
Did
man.
you guys know?
It is. It's up to good people. Evil only. What is the expression? Evil only happens when good people look the other way, right? Isn't that what the expression is? Like, how do you sit there and let?
Yeah.
And then you're going on social. Now this guy's taking a video of you. You're the fan in the background who's laughing. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like, dude, you're no better than the guy, as far as
You
I'm
guys know
concerned.
that-
And I'm not
100%.
telling you. I'm not, guys. And
You
I'm not
guys-
saying stand up and hit this guy in the face. I'm saying. You tell this dude, listen, man, you're disrespecting now this girl. She's the fan, the same as you. She wants to watch a football game. And if that doesn't work, you go tell security.
You guys,
I don't care who he's rooting for. Get this guy the hell out of here,
The
man.
only team
Everybody
in the
else
NFL,
wants to enjoy this game, but we don't get to.
the only team in the NFL who have a judge in the stadium.
Yeah, and
Philadelphia.
they have a jail. They have a jail.
Yes, the
They have
judge.
a judge.
The judge
It's
who
a
convicts you
jail.
of your crimes on the scene.
And they have a
There-
jail.
It's not a jury of your peers. It's one guy who's like, you were guilty. Get your ass in the jail
It
cell.
should just be a jury of fans from the opposing team.
I can tell you, I've been to Bears jail. There's no judge down there. I can tell you that.
Yeah, the Eagles have a judge. All right, real quick, guys. Vernon's got to be out of here. He's going to join CSP at 8 o'clock. But real quick, I just want to get you guys way too early Super Bowl predictions. Sean?
I'm going to go Eagles 24, the Chiefs 21.
Really? That low scoring after all of the scoring we've seen?
Defense. Both defenses are stout. And I mean, the Eagles, again, dude, they allowed 170 passing yards per game, dude. That's insane. And I think, again, much like the Bills, a lack of top end skill positions against that secondary might come back to haunt, but they know how to scheme people open. So it's going to be a lot of fun. The game inside this game is going to be a lot of fun. So for me,
Yeah,
anyways.
here we go. Another Andy Reid Bowl, his two teams. But I'm going to say this, guys. I've been hammering this home. Like I said, if Saquon Barkley, if you can't slow that down, it doesn't matter. It's over. You have to slow that down. Second, I haven't seen the Chiefs yet face, and I know Creed Humphrey's a really good player, but I haven't
Yeah.
seen the Chiefs face a dominant interior pass rusher. So I'm very curious to see how, because Mahomes just kept getting to the outside. You guys, like the entire game against the Bills,
Yeah.
he was walking past whatever crappy Von Miller was next to him. But this Eagles team is different because when Jalen Carter breaks through up the middle, you got nowhere to go. I mean, like I feel that Mahomes is going to be very aware of Jalen Carter.
Well, Mike agrees with you guys. He says Eagles 27, Chiefs 21. Breaking news, Bruce says he will take the Eagles.
Oh yeah, sorry guys.
T
My
just
score is
joined
actually
us.
pretty.
T just joined us, and he says Kansas City wins. I think it's way too early.
I'm going to say 21-10. I'm going to say it's a very low scoring game.
Oh wow, 21-10.
Wow.
Wow.
Shit.
The Eagles aren't, or you're saying the Chiefs aren't scoring, huh?
Yeah, no, the 10 is the Chiefs. Yeah.
All right.
I'll take the Eagles 31, Chiefs 27. That's going to be my final score. And even though I don't like betting against the Chiefs, and they're probably going to end up winning in some way, shape, or form, I just can't root for them because I'm so sick of Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes that I need the Eagles to win for my soul.
And Kyle, really quick,
my own
I know you guys saw
peace
this
of mind.
after that Patrick Mahomes rushing touchdown. Those antics by Travis Kelce when he was all up in DeMar Hamlin's
he definitely instigated that.
That was a
100%.
15-yard penalty not called. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, and right after that, dude, I could have sworn. I mean, I only got a glimpse, but like, Kelce took his helmet off. Is there like a beaver living on the top of this guy's head? What the hell is going on up there, dude? I hate to do this because I actually don't have anything against his political views and mine don't align, but whatever. But what the hell is with his hair?
Darius. You're saying the Chiefs are going to shut down?
I agree with Darius. I think they're going to make Jalen Hurts throw, but Jalen Hurts had a good passing game as well, Darius.
But why would a team successfully be able to force Hurts throw? Have you seen anyone slow Barkley down? Look at his game log, guys. 66 yards is the least he's rushed for. And I think he had like 9 carries in that game.
Yeah.
So nobody has slowed down Saquon
Justin's
Barkley.
bet is cemented in time. He's picking the Chiefs all
Here, can I say this?
He says he's sick of Taylor
I'm
Swift.
picking Saquon Barkley to win the Super Bowl.
If the Eagles are down 2 or 3 linemen, I'm gonna flip to the Chiefs.
That's why I said way too early.
Yes,
That's why I said way too early.
If
You got to look at the health of these teams. Saquon Barkley was also grabbing at his calf a little bit in that game. So you got to definitely want to see the injury report before.
He was grabbing at his calf though the week before too. So
guys, let me give a shout out to Dustin T, James Cook, Ruiz, Turd Ferguson, James Kelfair, guys, Mike Ross, all
Darius
you guys,
Lockhart,
Bruce, Darius, killed it tonight, guys. Killed it. It was awesome to just have a conversation with you tonight. Kyle, Sean, as always, much love. This was fun.
Now, hopefully Dustin will be back next Monday. If not, he's probably going to be on the bare minimum with Brandon Thursday at 11:30 p.m. So you're going to see Dustin here soon.
And we'll be back Wednesday.
Sean and I will be here Wednesday at 7:00.
We're going to switch it to 7:00. Yeah, we're going to move it back an hour.
Sean and I will be moving the Barely There podcast back to 7:00 on Wednesday. It seems like most of you guys are showing up around 7, 8:00. So we just want to have more time to interact with you guys, get to your guys' comments or questions. We appreciate all you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks to River Street Tavern for being our first and only sponsor right now.
We got Ideal Amusement.
We'll announce another sponsor here coming up pretty soon, maybe a couple more. Appreciate all you guys. Thanks for watching, and we will see you Wednesday.
Anything you want to get out there before we wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right. Yeah.
We can't leave without it. Sorry.
James, the Cubs show will be not, Sean, is it not this Saturday, but next Saturday?
It's going to be after the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So the week after the Super Bowl, the next 2 weekends for me.
So not 2 weeks, but 3 weeks. We will be doing the Cubs Saturday show. Well, that show will probably be like this, probably an hour and a half. We'll break down what we thought. We'll break down the Cubs off season and what we'll look into the future for the Cubs and what we think they're going to do in the season. We'll give you our prediction for the Cubs and the White Sox over unders. We did this last year. I told you guys to take the White Sox under 59.5. I got laughed at last year. Worked out for me. Won some money off that. Sorry, Trey. Hate to rub it in your face, man, but I we'll talk about. I hope that the Vegas, Sean, have they come out with the over unders yet?
I forgot about that. The freaking mayor spelled Eagles wrong in the chat.
I
That
saw
was
that.
so awesome, dude.
I saw that too.
Good call, Ruiz. Oh, what was that, Kyle?
Has Vegas come out with any of the over-underers for baseball yet?
Oh, I haven't even looked.
Yeah, we'll get into the over-underers and all that stuff come 3 weeks from
You
now,
got
guys.
19 pages of Cubs notes, though, so I'm ready to go.
Yeah, we're going to try to focus on the Bears until they finish completing this coaching staff. But I promise you guys, we'll get into the Cubs and we'll even get a little bit into the Blackhawks and the Bulls a little bit after in the off season. But we appreciate you guys, man. Thanks as
Love
always
y'all.
for joining us. You guys have an excellent night, and we'll see you